What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto's hard work was mocked by everyone and he found a forbidden jutsu that made him supreme? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Naruto-kun, are you sure you want this as your ninja id picture? It doesn't seem very professional. That was an understatement. Naruto had worn a short-sleeved t-shirt, orange of course, and his headband. What were not fine were the orange lines he had drawn all over his arms and face. It was clearly designed to make him look like a specter or demon, but it just looked ridiculous. Especially with the ferocious pose the boy was in. No way Hokage Gigi. That picture just shows how awesome I am. Well, hopefully the boy would grow out of this phase. There would be no way any Hokage could have such a ridiculous picture. Although, he was going to train under Guy. Very well. He puffed on his ever-present pipe, soothing his nerves. On a final topic, I have a gift for you, Naruto-kun. I originally planned to give it to you on your birthday, but you have earned it by graduating early. With that, the Hokage pulled out a set of goggles. If the two had lived in modern America, they would have called the goggles aviator goggles. Instead, they were cool-looking goggles. Thanks, Gigi. Naruto quickly grabbed the goggles and placed them on. Wow, they are way more comfortable than I expected. These are awesome, just like me. The Hokage smiled as he watched Naruto gush over the goggles with a child's innocence. It was great to see that he had managed to maintain this innocence despite his hard life. Hopefully the harsh reality of the ninja world would not break the boy. Yes, Naruto, you are awesome to graduate a year early. That is something I did not do. At this, Naruto perked up. He had beat Hokage Gigi at something? On the other hand, I graduated at the age of 10 and did it without repeating a year. The old man grinned as Naruto's face fell. Ha ha, laugh it up, old man. You just keep that seat warm for me, for soon I will be Hokage. Believe it, Datbeo. With that, the young genin turned around and marched out. Ha, I am a genin now. This is awesome. Though, it was too bad there was no surprise attack on the old man. Then I could have saved him in some super awesome way. Then he would be so impressed, he would hand me the hat right then and there. Naruto was so entranced by his daydream that he missed the child who walked past him wrapped up in a ridiculously long scarf and holding several wooden shuriken. The next morning opened with a blaring alarm clock. A fist pounded on the large off button, silencing the alarm. The young self-proclaimed future Hokage got up, stretched, and looked at his calendar. Holy shit, today is team assignment day. I can't be late. Naruto then looked around his room, and realized how dirty it was. That was so different from Hokage Gigi's office. Clearly a Hokage had to be neat. Fortunately, Naruto had the perfect solution. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 10 clones popped up. Well, start cleaning. Why should we? We won't enjoy the benefits of cleaning. Because I am the original. Now do it before I dispel you. Grumbling, the clones got to work. Ha, this is the most awesome jutsu ever. With that, Naruto took a quick shower and had his usual breakfast of ramen. After all, every meal had to have the food the gods. Donning his orange jumpsuit, headband, and awesome goggles, Naruto Uzumaki stepped out of his house. Look out world, here comes Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage. Tenten Hasawada blinked as she woke up in an unfamiliar room. Why was she not at the orphanage? Ah, that was right. She was a genin now, and as such had moved out. Now she could support herself. The apartment was specifically set up orphan genins. They came pre-stocked with basic household items like pots, towels, washer and dryer, and other basic necessities. It would take a while to get used to making her own meals, but she could adjust. The only piece of furniture that was hers was a human dartboard. She had bought one with saved money found on the ground when she was 8 so that she could practice her aim. Tenten grabbed the kunai and shrunken on the table, and threw them straight at the board. 10 out of 10. Perfect, like her. She was ready for today. After washing up, dressing, and eating a simple breakfast, plain cereal and an apple, she didn't feel like trying her hand at cooking just yet. Tenten walked confidently out of her apartment. She was dressed in a Chinese dress. Her black hair was styled in such a way that it had 2 buns. Her black eyes racked the surrounding area with a surprising keenness from the preteen. She remembered that there had been one other apartment complex for genins, but apparently only one person lived there and it was run down. Also, the person was reportedly a troublemaker. Tenten didn't want to associate with a troublemaker. As she waked to the schools, she began to wonder who would be on her team. Hopefully Neji would be one of her teammates. He was so dreamy. Wait. Don't go fangirl. Tsunade-sama hates fangirls. Lee Rock woke to the blaring alarm clock. He quickly turned it off, and stared at the poster on the ceiling of his room. It simply said, "You can do it." Still, it was one of the greatest gifts he had ever been given. When Lee had turned 4, he had gone for his annual checkup with his parents. They were doing a ninja evaluation as well, to see if he had the chakra coils for becoming one. It was then that they discovered his problem. Don't say disability. Disability implies you can't overcome it. He could expel chakra, but not mold it. He would be unable to use ninjutsu and genjutsu. In short, in the eyes of everyone he could not become a ninja. There was no cure. His parents could have bawled. They could have offered up anything to cure him. They could have marked him a failure. Instead they simply said, "What do you want to do? We will support you no matter what." It was then that Lee had declared that he would become a ninja, no matter what people said. That day his parents had bought him the poster, and placed it in his room. Every day he woke up to those words. Every day he fell asleep to them. They were his mantra, and so he had entered the academy and worked his hardest. And someone had recognized his hard work, and had agreed to sponsor him. Lee washed and dressed. His mother was downstairs making his favorite breakfast, a hearty eggs and bacon with Tabasco sauce. "I am so proud of you, Lee. You have shown everyone what you are capable of. It's too bad your father had to be away on business." Lee nodded vigorously. "Thank you. I wouldn't have made it as far as I had without your support." His mother smiled and served his food. "It is no problem. After all, it is a parent's job to take care of their children. You just promise me you will be careful." "Don't worry, I will be." The boy with black braided hair and a normal t-shirt with sweatpants quickly finished his meal. "Well, I am off. Good luck." Lee simply smiled and raised his hand in a thumb-up position. Then he was off. On Training Ground 9, a green-clad Junin was suddenly struck by a great feeling of youth. "Yosh, I will train the best and most youthful team ever. I just know it." He then finished his exercises of youth, cleaned up, and headed for the academy. Everyone quieted down. Iruka's head was enlarged to gigantic proportions, scaring the class into submission. Honestly, what did it take to keep people quiet? Then again, he had been exactly the same when he had been assigned to his team. The ponytailed Chunin sported several new scars from his encounter with Mizuki last week, but his only visible one was the scar on his nose, which was an old wound. The more recent wounds still hurt a little, but there was no way he was going to let this day pass without him there. Iruka was a teacher absolutely dedicated to his students. He would not be stopped from sending them off on their paths to be ninja. "I know you are all excited, so please, just let me read of the team assignments. Team 1 is Naruto Uzumaki is having trouble paying attention. He was just too excited to sit still and listen. Who knew who his sensei would be? It would have to be some extra special for the future Hokage." He suddenly looked up. "Sweet, my clones picked up everything. My apartment looks awesome." He suddenly scrunched up his face in confusion. "Wait, how do I know that?" He then once again began to pay attention to Iruka. Next up is Team 9, Rock Lee, Hasawada Tenten, and Uzumaki Naruto. "Your Junin leader is Guy Maeda." Naruto blinked. He didn't really remember Tenten, but Lee was someone he knew somewhat well. The boy had struggled with ninjutsu more than he had, and Lee had only passed because some Junin had vouched for him. And why was the name Guy so familiar? "Team 9, assemble over here." Blinking, Naruto turned to see someone he recognized. "It's you, the green shouty man who can summon turtles." "You're my sensei?" said Green Man smiled with a thumb up. Naruto noted that the light reflecting off his teeth had somehow made a pinging noise. "No, for training only you would be most unyouthful. I will train all of Team 9 equally. Now come to the village gates where we will have our first team exercises." "Youth." The Junin then turned around and ran out of the classroom. "Hey, wait up." Naruto quickly followed as an orange blur. Not to be outdone, Lee followed. He would work extra hard for this Junin who had believed in him. Tenten simply sighed. It looked like her entire team was full of crazies. It was too bad she hadn't been put on Neji's team. He was great eye candy. 10 minutes later the team was assembled at the gates. Tenten had just arrived, clearly having walked while her teammates had run. Tenten, please do not keep your team waiting. It is most unyouthful. There was a large frown on Guy's face. To her credit, Tenten just blinked before replying, sorry sensei. It will not happen again. The man began to smile again. Excellent. Now we must have some youthful introductions. I will go first. I am Guy Meta, Junin of Kahona. I like being in the springtime of my youth, challenging my eternal rival, and exercising. I dislike the hip cool attitude of my eternal rival and those who fight without honor. My hobbies include training and writing poetry. My goal is to train you to be the best ninjas possible, and my dream is to make the world a more honorable place. Now it is your turn. Naruto jumped up and down. I got this. I get to go first. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, Tuchi Jisan, Ayame Nichan, Hokage Jiji, and Iruka Sensei. I dislike the 3 minutes it takes to make ramen, people who can't tell the difference between a scroll and a kunai, and the kyuubi. My hobbies are training, pranking, and gardening. My goal is to become Hokage, and my dream is to be the strongest ninja ever. Yosh, I am next. I am Rock Lee. I like training and my family. I dislike those who say I can't make it as a ninja. My hobbies include training and cooking. My goal is to become a Junin and my dream is to prove that geniuses of hard work can overcome natural geniuses. My dream is to make my family proud of me. I guess it is my turn. I am Hasawada Tenten. I like throwing weapons and strong kunoichi. I dislike those who think women can't fight as well as men. My hobbies are hairstyling and metalworking. My goal is to become a ninja as strong as Lady Tsunade-sama. My dream is to one day have my own family and to help other orphans. Tenten was looking at Guy while saying this, and thus missed Naruto's look of pity. Yosh, you are all bursting with youth. Unfortunately, we are not Team 9 yet. You still have one last test before the team can be finalized. Looks of shock and horror greeted the Junin's declaration. What? That is not fair. No way am I being sent back to the academy. Naruto looked downright furious. Don't worry, I am sure the entire team will pass. The challenge is quite simple. You have to run 10 laps around Kahona. You may take as much time as you need, as long as you keep on jogging. However, if you are lapped twice, you will be removed from this team and sent back to the academy. As some people say, a team is only as strong as its weakest link. Do you understand the challenge? 3 pairs of eyes blinked. Run around Kahona 10 times? We so got this. Let's go. A blur of orange took off, only to pause. Which direction? Guy smiled and began running around clockwise. This way. Run with youth, and you will succeed. Then he was off, leaving only dust cloud behind. Yosh, I will overcome this challenge. With that, Lee took off, determined to win and passing the stunned Naruto, who was still trying to comprehend the speed of Guy. This spurred the blonde to move. Hey, wait up. Tenten sighed again. Completely nuts, that was all she could say about her team. Then she began jogging. The first lap was the easiest, yet all the genin still had to slow down somewhat. The second lap was when things started to get painful. By then Naruto had caught up to Lee, and the two had begun a heated race to win first. It was at the third lap that the two males saw Tenten. She was panting, clearly winded. Tenten, are you alright? I am, huff huff, fine. I got this. Just, huff, got to, huff puff, keep moving. It was clear she was not fine to both Lee and Naruto. You are not fine. Lee, help me carry her. Wait, huff, what? Naruto? You heard Guy-sensei. If anyone is lapped, they are off the team. We are too fast for her, we had to carry her. Ah, you are right. Here, let me help. As the bun-haired girl began to protest her manhandling, Guy began to catch up to the group. The Junin had been lapping the group rather consistently, proving his speed and stamina. By then he had already completed 25 laps. Aha, what are you doing there? Naruto turned to face the Junin. We are helping our teammate. His tone was a clear, do you have a problem with that? Guy smiled a bright smile. Yosh, such youth. Team 9 passes. All 3 genin stopped moving and blinked in surprise. What? Gain continued to smile. There was no way that a fresh genin could run 10 laps. No, the true test was whether you would help a teammate in distress. Remember what I said about how some people say that a team is only as strong as its weakest link? Well, they are wrong. A team is only as strong as its teamwork. If you had left Tenten, I would have failed you and sent you back. My eternal rival put it best. Those who disobey orders are trash in the ninja world, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. You did not abandon Tenten, proving you are worthy of being genin of Kahona. Your will of fire burns brightly, fanned by the flames of youth. Yata, we pass. We are awesome Datbayo. Similar chants of success echoed among the genin. Indeed, in recognition of your youth, I present you with these suits of youth. With that, the Junin pulled out 3 green spandex one pieces. While Lee and Naruto began to droll over them, Tenten back away in horror. Yosh, those are awesome. Lee ran forward to claim one. Naruto grinned and then frowned. Do you have them in orange? Guy's smile simply got bigger as he pulled out an orange suit. Awesome. Naruto quickly snagged the article of clothing and began to unzip his jumpsuit. Not in front of me, Yubaka. Tenten had started to turn a lovely shade of red. Naruto, upon realizing that he had been about to strip in front of his team, blinked twice, and then began to blush. Sorry, Tenten-chan. He then realized something important. Hey, why have you not claimed your suite of youth? Is there not one that is the color you like? Tenten turned green at the thought of wearing one of those hideous one pieces. There is no way in hell I am wearing one of those things. Guy's smile disappeared, but he didn't frown. Instead he stored the suits. Very well. Team 9 is now official. Meet me tomorrow at Training Ground 9 at 7 o'clock in the morning. Hi sensei. With that, Team 9 dispersed. My guy was waiting in the room full of Junin when Kakashi finally entered, 2.5 hours late. Sorry, I am late. I got lost on the road of life while helping old ladies cross the road. He smiled at his unamused audience. Curse your unyouthfulness, my eternal rival. You can't always be late. I'm sorry, did you say something? Before Guy could explode in a burst of youth, the Hokage intervened. Right, now that we are all here, can you tell me who passed and failed? The Junin rattled off passes and fails. Only 3 reports stuck with Guy. Team 6 fails. They had no teamwork and no drive. I saved their lives and sent them back. That was his eternal rival. You must have failed to make the great inspiration of youth. I, Guy Maeda, am pleased to announce that Team 9 of Rock Lee, Hasawada Tenten, and Uzumaki Naruto have passed in a most youthful fashion. Guy felt the eye of Kakashi snap on him at the words Uzumaki Naruto. The other team that he recalled was the one under Denka Kurama, the leader of Team 12. This team consisted of Neji Hyuga, Minato Yamanaka, and Mizore Nara. After the meeting, Kakashi corned Guy. Naruto is on your team? Will he do well? Guy smiled. Do not worry. Naruto will grow greatly on my team. Once he reaches Chunin, you can instruct him in ninjutsu. I will protect him and groom him into a taijutsu master. He will be safe. Kakashi visibly relaxed. Good. And Guy, thanks. No problem, my eternal rival. But you do realize this counts as a victory for me, putting me at 47 wins over 46 losses. I am winning. I'm sorry, did you say something? Naruto Uzumaki awoke with the alarm at 5:30. He quickly tapped it off, and leapt out of bed. After a few stretches he showered, clothed himself, and ate, all in the span of 20 minutes. The young Uzumaki was clad in a one-piece orange spandex. His forehead protector was wrapped around his waist like a belt. Orange-rimmed goggles protected his ocean blue eyes. Green weights, which also doubled as leg warmers, went up past his shins, stopping just below the knee. Yata, I will not lose to Lee again. I must hurry to Training Down 9. I will win, Datbayo. Then there was only a ball of dust. I win this time, bushy brows. That brings me closer to winning. The score is now 38-42. Soon I will surpass you. Tenten could only sigh as she arrived at Training Ground 9. Honestly, was she the only sane person on her team? She was willing to bet that Neji didn't put up with this. Naruto and Lee were like opposite identical twins. Naruto would wear orange where Lee wore green. Lee's hair, no longer braided, was neat and well kept, if in an odd bowl cut. Naruto's sun-kissed hair was spiky and wild. Yet their personalities were similar. They were loud, proud people who would challenge any who looked down on them. The two, upon the advice of their equally insane sensei, had taken to constantly challenging one another to prove their worth. Such youth. You two burn brightly. And there he was. Except for being taller and older, Guy may have been identical to Lee. It was so unnerving. Let us begin with some youthful exercises. One thing was certain though, these exercises were giving her a body most women would kill for. It was hard, but rewarding. Push-ups, crunches, pull-ups, and jogs around the village were the staple of the exercises. Then end results were lean, strong muscles and a wonderful six-pack. After that they would stretch, and then go through katas. Once Naruto had figured out that his clones could be used to learn material faster, he had wanted to spam them to accelerate his training. This was something Guy-sensei had expressively denied. While Naruto could use the clones to learn katas or jutsus, he could also pick up bad habits that would be that much harder to break. All Naruto could use clones for were spars and for reading books. Apparently Naruto was lacking in his basic academic education, so his clones were being used to pick up the slack. Time for a youthful spar. Lee-kun, Naruto-kun, prepare for another youthful duel. Begin. The two boys leapt into action. Tenten watched the boys fight. They had evolved over the course of the 3 months that the team had been active. Lee was a disciple of Guy-sensei's strong fist. His moves, though rather obvious and straightforward, were fast and hard. Lee was also just faster and stronger than Naruto. Part of this was being older, and part of it was eating healthily. Naruto on the other hand was a maelstrom. Guy was teaching him how to use his clones effectively. Now, instead of swarming his opponent with clones who got in each other's way, he created a small squad that attacked with him. Utilizing Hubei's style, Naruto attacked in a flurry of unpredictable strikes that were fast and aimed at nerve clusters and other damaging points. It was a flexible style for a flexible person. If he lasted long enough, Naruto could always out-endure Lee. Which was what was happening now. While both boys had improved greatly, they were still only in the basics of their styles. Except for the opening stances, as well as a few kicks and punches, the two teens weren't anywhere close to being masters of their styles. Guy was a perfectionist when it came to taijutsu, so what they did know they knew well. Winner, Naruto. Ha, you see that bushy brows? I am on a roll today. Naruto Uzumaki's flames of youth are burning bright today. Believe it, he was all smiles. Yosh. Still, I am ahead, and I will maintain my lead. I will achieve the pinnacle of youth. Despite being the loser, and having a nasty bruise forming on his head, Lee was happy as well. This was a rival who acknowledged him as an equal. A true friend indeed. What a youthful rivalry. Now for the next exercise, barrage training. Tenten grinned. Barrage training was her favorite exercise. She would pelt the boys with an ungodly amount of wooden, blunted weapons while they tried to dodge. It raised situation awareness and dexterity among the boys, and her accuracy was shooting through the roof. Plus, it was payback for making her put up with their insanity. Better start running, boys. Unfortunately, they listened. That didn't help completely though. Tenten managed to box Lee in, causing the youthful boy to take several hits while Naruto dodged the few weapons that came his way. Guy-sensei was displeased. Wham! Naruto reeled back from the blow. Naruto, you fool. You let your teammate be boxed in, and didn't substitute him with a clone. Wham! Lee was also on the receiving end of a punch, and you let yourself get boxed in, you fool. You must be aware of your surroundings at all times. Both boys began to tear up. We are sorry, Guy-sensei. We don't mean to be such fools. Guy's eyes began to water as well. No, it is I who is the fool. I have pushed you too hard. Oh Lee, Naruto. The three men embraced, tears running down freely. Guy-sensei. Lee, Naruto. Guy-sensei. In a most disturbing fashion, the three males began to float over a newly formed pool of water. There was a waterfall behind them. The spray would be caught by the sunrise, even though it was near noon, causing rainbows to form. All right, enough is enough. Do your genjutsu somewhere else. The scary thing was that there were different genjutsus when different people hugged. She really didn't want to think about it. The spandex-wearing men fell apart, ending the unspeakable genjutsu. Sorry Tenten-chan, I didn't mean to do that to you. Of the three lunatics she was stuck with, Naruto was the most, well, the word has to be normal, even if that didn't describe him. While he dressed like Guy-sensei, and would often get swept up in his madness, Naruto did try to tone it down. He was always hyper, but that didn't mean he was always shouting about the powers of youth at the top of his lungs. On the other hand, Lee was a perfect mini-me of Guy-sensei. His clothes, his attitude, even his combat style was a complete copy of the Junin. That didn't mean he was bad, far from it. It was just rather repetitive. Annoying sometimes. She liked her team, but they sometimes would get on her nerves. My youthful team, I have a new challenge for you to stoke your flames of youth for the will of fire. Today we will have our first C-rank mission. Yata. About time we got off those stupid D ranks. Time to show the world how awesome we are. Race you to the tower. And there went the orange blur. And it was swiftly followed by 2 green blurs, one which swiftly passed the 2 Genins. Tenten sighed, her team was insane. Still, a C rank would be nice. It took a special person to be Hokage. He, or she, had to love the village, and be willing to sacrifice for it. That didn't just mean your life, it meant your time and patience while dealing with paperwork. And the Hokage couldn't simply cage Bushin it away, because he had to be at his top shape. Hiruzen Sarutobi shuddered to think about what would have happened had Minato been using shadow clones to deal with the paperwork on the day of the Kyuubi attack. To many, the post seemed unrewarding. Sure, you were acknowledged as powerful, but you could do that without being a cage. On the surface, it just looked like more boring paperwork. But it was so much more than that. With every stroke of his pen he made decisions that protected the home he loved, that kept his friends and family safe. Some of those decisions were hard, some so hard they kept him up at night. But they had to be done, so why not by the person he trusted most? And there were some rewarding times. One such time was hanging as a picture in his office. It featured a horrified Team 9 as they were given the mission of cleaning the sewer. For a month the team had only been training, mainly to correct Naruto's sabotaged information and katas. When they had come in for their first mission, they had no idea what they were getting into. The third Hokage sighed as he looked at the paperwork on his desk. It was during his first term that he had created the Civilian Council. It looked good on paper, the council would deal with all civilian matters during times of peace, reducing the amount of paperwork on his desk. During his first term, in Minato's time, it had worked very well. He had less paperwork, and the civilians were much more efficient. It was after the attack that everything went down the crapper. The civilians, hating Naruto for containing the Kyuubi, did all they could to starve him. And because Naruto was a civilian until he graduated, the third couldn't punish them. Now he could punish them. A good part of the paperwork were fines and court reviews about the people and stores who had shortchanged, to say the least, Naruto. Ah, revenge was indeed a dish best served cold. Ah, there was Naruto-kun now with his team. You win this round, bushy brows. But one day I will surpass you. Such youth. Do not worry, Naruto-kun, your flames also burn brightly. But you will have to work hard to have them burn brighter than mine. I will burn with more intensity than you by the end of the C-rank mission. And if I can't do that I will do 10 laps around Kahona, Datbeo. Hiruzen Sarutobi had to smile. It is too bad you can't see your son Minato. He is truly becoming a splendid ninja. Guy appeared in front of his mission desk. Team 9 is here to request a C rank. The third chuckled, idly blowing smoke rings as Lee and Naruto continued to make challenges. Team 9. The group snapped to attention. I have an escort mission for you. A caravan of mask makers is heading for Crater City, and is asking for a genin team escort. Expected opposition is none to run-of-the-mill bandits. Do you accept this mission? Hi Hokage-sama, Gigi. Excellent. The details are on this scroll. The caravan is leaving tomorrow at 8 o'clock sharp. You will be paid upon return. Team 9, dismissed. Guy grabbed the scroll. The group about-faced, and left the building. Azumo and Katetsu enjoyed being gate guards. It was a relaxing, easy C rank that often led to great stories in the Chunin Lounge. One such story was playing out now in front of them. Ha, I win Lee. That makes us tied at 43. I told you I will surpass you. Lee simply smiled. Guy was ecstatic. Such a youthful rivalry. If only my hip cool eternal rival was as youthful as you. Yes, this tale would be worth many cups of sake after hours. Even that three-man hug was worth something, though that genjutsu was incredibly disturbing. Are you the ones who will be guarding us? While the three look-alikes had been hugging, a small caravan had pulled up to the gate. Guy immediately broke the hug. That depends. Are you the mask maker caravan under Anao Sukune? The man smiled. You are speaking to him. Anyway, my caravan is traveling to Crater City to do business at the festival there. We aren't expecting any trouble, as our merchandise isn't worth anything on the black market, but we don't want bandits to try their luck on us. We expect the trip to take 3 days. I understand. Do not fear, you have nothing to worry about. My team shall protect your caravan so well not a single item shall be disturbed, and if we can't do that I will run along the border of fire country 10 times. Guy was soon joined by 2 other voices. And if we fail, we shall do 250 push-ups with boulders strapped to our backs. Such youth. Lee, Naruto. Guy-sensei. Lee, Naruto. Guy-sensei. All right, that's enough. It isn't youthful to cause your client to be late. You are right. I will take point. Naruto, send some clones off ahead to scout the area. Tenten, you are in the middle. Naruto and Lee, take the rear. Hi sensei. There were several puffs, and a dozen Narutos appeared. The clones started to run ahead, only to pause. Which way is Crater City? Sukune just laughed. Why don't you stick with us until there is only one road? That way you won't get confused. The clones, and their creator, just looked sheepish. Right, let's be off. With that, the caravan began to move. As they passed through the gates, Naruto suddenly paused. Is something wrong, Naruto? Naruto blinked and smiled. I just realized something, Tenten-chan. This is the first time I am leaving the village. This is a huge step in my journey. Tenten smiled warmly. Hey Lee, come here. The boy hastened to comply. Don't worry, we are Team 9. We will take this step together. Yash, do not fear Naruto-kun. We are your youthful comrades. Naruto's smile was absolutely radiant. Yeah, we are Team 9. Right, let's do this. The team stepped forward as one. Then took another step. And another. And then they were comfortable, walking at their own pace. Naruto's impossibly big grin got even bigger. Yata, look out world. Here comes Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. Believe it, Datbeo. The inseparable Chunin pair watched the team and caravan disappear as they traveled the road. So, what do you think? I think that team will go far in life. All right, we will camp here for the night. The caravan had traveled through the day, only once making a stop for lunch. Fortunately, this was light compared to Guy's training. Hey sensei, can we make a campfire and tell ghost stories? Naruto looked very excited at the prospect of scaring his teammates. Guy smiled and gave a thumbs up. Absolutely. I will watch over the caravan. Yata. The group quickly dug out a fire hole away from the camp proper. Naruto had his clones collect dead branches for the firewood, while Tenten actually lit it. They sat down next to the flickering flames. Since this was my idea, I get to go first. Prepare yourself for the most terrifying story ever. And that's how the story of the academy instructor from the swamp ends. Pretty scary, huh? Blinks met the end of his story. You find a horror story to be about a teacher who sabotages his students' work in such a way so that he can eat them scary. That was pathetic. You are scared of teachers? What next, butterflies? Tenten looked very unimpressed. Hey, teachers are scary. And no, I am not afraid of butterflies. Just ghosts and… He suddenly trailed off. And? I don't want to say it. Do not fear, Naruto-kun. You can say it. I found your story rather creepy. But I don't want to. Both teammates were egging him on now. Common, you can tell us. I don't want to be invisible. Naruto shouted the words at the top of his lungs, startling everyone around. Now that it was out, he couldn't stop talking. Everywhere I went, people would always do their best to ignore me. Oh sure, they would get out of my way, or talk back if spoken to multiple times, but they always ignored me. Always made a point of looking away, of steering their children away. The street I live on is empty, because no one wants to live next to me. That's why I started wearing orange. It's such a bright color. They have to notice me in it. And if I become Hokage, then they can't ignore me at all. They will have to listen. They will have to see me. He started crying. Tenten and Lee looked aghast. They knew Naruto wasn't well liked by the population, but this… Tenten made a snap decision. I have things I am afraid of. Naruto stopped crying to listen. I am afraid of spiders. I hate the damn things. But mostly, I am afraid of being used as a female tool. I want to be strong, like Tsunade-sama. I am afraid of being sent on seductress missions. I am afraid of being too weak to be a proper kunoichi. She looked down. I am afraid of failure. Of failing my parents. My problem. It would normally limit my career options. But I choose to rise above expectations. I choose the hardest path. And yet, I am afraid that I may just be fooling myself. That no matter how hard I work I have already peaked, and will be unable to advance. To prove my worth, my parents have a poster for me that says, "You can do it." What if I can't? The genins were silent, mulling over what had been revealed. Naruto straightened up. Right, I've decided. We are going to make a pact. A pact? Tenten looked up with interest that was mirrored by Lee. Naruto nodded. The pact of Team 9. We will support each other, help each other reach our goals. Make it so that we are never afraid, so we are always striving to come ahead. We will be Team 9, the group who never fails in their goals. What do you say? He held out a hand. To Team 9's pact. Tenten's hand was thrust on top of Naruto's. To a most youthful pact. A final hand was added, and all three were raised. Watching from a distance, Maida Guy couldn't help it. He began to cry manly tears. Truly, he had a most youthful team. The rest of the trip passed without incident. The caravan arrived at Crater City on the morning of the third day, much to the pleasure of Sukune. Guy decided his youthful team could use a break. We will take a break and stay here for a night. Enjoy the youthful festival. Hi Guy-sensei. With that, the team dispersed, pleased with the event. What could go wrong? A busty blonde felt her eye twitch. We have a winner. This was announced by the power dealer. Shit, what was going to go wrong here in Crater City? Tsunade Senju was a legendary ninja. And like all legendary ninja, she had developed several sixth senses to keep her alive. Out of combat, her best indicator of approaching trouble was her gambling luck. The luckier she was, the more trouble she was in. So when she started winning at the poker table, she started to get worried. Then she realized her wins weren't consistent. She was coming out ahead, but not by that much of a margin. Therefore, the trouble coming couldn't be that bad. If she had known what was ahead in her future, she would have run out of the casino screaming when an orange-clad blonde walked up to the table and asked if he could join. Naruto was poor. This was a fact that he had accepted long ago. So when he saw the sign, "Try your luck and win big," he was hooked. Naruto entered the casino without a second thought. Hey kid, get out of here. Only adults are allowed to play here. A big man with ridiculously sized muscles was looking at him from behind a counter. Naruto blinked, and then pointed at the forehead protector around his waist. I'm a legal adult. I can and want to play here. The man looked him over. Fine, if you want to lose your money that bad, go ahead. You trade in your money here for chips, which you use to bet in games. I would recommend the poker table, it's the only place you will have a chance. Naruto grinned, while pulling out his toad wallet. Thanks man. He pulled out the few hundred Ryo notes he had saved. Don't worry little buddy. I will have you nice and full soon. The man snorted. Right, that's worth 500 chips. Each chip has the amount it is worth printed on it. Each chip is color-coded to the amount. Have a good day. Naruto grinned and grabbed the chips. It took a bit of wandering, but eventually Naruto found the poker table. There were several people around it, but what stuck out most to Naruto was the very busty blonde with a weird mark on her forehead and an interesting necklace, and the slightly younger woman with a pig in her arms. Naruto sat down and asked, "Hey, can I join?" He completely missed the predatory look that the blonde female now sported. Of course sir. The ante is 10 chips. Naruto nodded enthusiastically. I see, what does that mean? The dealer blinked as the well-endowed blonde snorted. Do you even know how to play poker at all kid? No, but I was thinking I could learn it as the game went on. The woman's grin widened, and she decided to inform the genin of the rules. It is very simple Gaki. The ante is the amount of chips you have to put in at the beginning of each hand. You are given 2 cards. Over the course of the hand, 5 cards are revealed. If you think you have a good hand, you bid chips or at least match the amount of chips others bid. If you don't, you fold, forfeiting automatically. Best hand takes the pot. The slightly younger woman looked at her senior with a look reserved for mothers scolding children. Tsunade-sama, you can't leave the explanation that short. It is mean and Naruto silenced her with a wave of his hand. Don't worry about it, I will figure it out. Thanks for the help, Haim. The busty blonde stopped smiling. Deal me in. Cards were expertly sent around the table. Naruto picked up his. 2 nines? That has to be bad. Doesn't matter though, because Uzumaki Naruto doesn't give up. He placed his 10 chips in the pile, and watched as 3 cards were flipped up. A 2, a 9, and a king were revealed. Another 9. Must stand strong. Must stand strong. There were a few checks, until it came to Tsunade's turn to bid. 100. She slid the chips over. The two people between Naruto and Tsunade folded. I will stay in. Uzumaki Naruto doesn't back down. With that he slid his chips into place. The woman laughed again while her assistant shot Naruto a look of pity. Something funny, Haim? Everyone else save one other player had folded. Just that you seem to think you have a chance. Another card was revealed, a 5. The remaining man folded, and Tsunade checked. I know I will win. I am the best, Datbeo. And besides, I have to make Gama-chan full again. 125. The last word was a shout as he pushed the chips over, making his already small pile even smaller. Bring it on, brat. She quickly matched him. The final card was revealed. Come on, 4 nines? My luck can't be that bad. Ah well, got to stick to my guns. Tsunade smiled. 250. While Naruto had 265 left, it was basically an all-in for Naruto, and they both knew it. Tsunade, on the other hand, had chips to spare. You know what? All in. I am Naruto Uzumaki, feature Hokage. I won't back down now. Naruto completely missed how the look in Tsunade's eye became a lot more dangerous. Reveal your cards, please. Tsunade proudly display a pair of 2s. Full house. Naruto flipped his cards over. I got 2 9s here, what is that worth? Tsunade blinked. Winner, the young lad with 4 9s. Naruto blinked. Ha, take that. I, Uzumaki Naruto, the future Hokage, have triumphed over the Haim. Believe it, Datbeo. With that he scooped up the chips from a stunned audience. He then placed 10 back in for the next deal. Tsunade looked at Naruto with a more critical eye. So you want to be Hokage, eh? Why would you want that job that is exclusively for fools? There was a sudden silence as Naruto whipped his head up from counting his chips. What did you just say? Tsunade smirked, ignoring the cries of Tsunade-sama behind her. You heard me, brat. Only fools take that job with that hat. You take that back, you spoiled bitch. What do you know about the Hokages? He missed the clenching of her fists. I know they were fools who died for a village not worth dying for. Almost every Hokage has died in the post. Sensei was a senile fool for choosing to take the job again. He should have stayed out. Now he is guaranteed to die in some stupid way trying to save a village not worth saving. Wham! Naruto slammed his fist down on the table. Don't you dare talk bad about Hokage Gigi. Or any of the Hokages. They knew what they were doing, what they signed up for. Kahona is damn well worth dying for. And stop pretending you are Tsunade of the Sannin. The woman my teammate worships would be an old woman now, not some spoiled Haim. And she sure as hell wouldn't trash talk Gigi. The younger woman gasped. That does it, brat. You, me, outside now. The younger went to complain, mouth opening in protest. Don't say anything, Shizune. Her mouth shut as the pig squealed softly. Bring it on, Haim. I will so beat the spoiled out of you. He crossed his fingers and a clone poofed into existence next to him. He threw Gama-chan to the clone. Collect my winnings while I beat up the Haim. The clone saluted. Kick her ass, boss. He then started to collect the pile of chips. The threesome plus pig quickly made their way to the exit. Shizune stayed behind to convert Tsunade's chips back into cash, with Taunton staying behind as well. Why the woman was carrying a pig was beyond Naruto's ability to reason. Soon the two reached the outskirts of the city, near one of the many forests in the Land of Fire. Shizune had soon appeared, following Taunton, who had apparently sniffed them out. Naruto made a mental note to take a long shower. It wouldn't do for a pig of all things to be able to track him by smell. That was just wrong. 1 finger. That is all I will need to kick your ass. Naruto snorted. Ha, want to bet on that statement? Tsunade grinned. Why yes, why not? I will use 1 finger, and when I win, I get all of your money. Naruto gulped at the thought of an empty Gama-chan. He would be so angry if Naruto lost. But if you somehow win, I will give you my necklace. Shizune gasped behind Tsunade. I don't want no shitty necklace. I just want you to eat dirt for your words against the Hokage, against my feature position. Here I come. With that, Naruto charged at Tsunade, anger removing any form he had. She simply scoffed. I can't believe a Sannin like me is fighting a stupid genin like you. With that, she smashed her finger into the ground, causing a fissure. Naruto blinked, and was sent flying back, crashing next to the tree line. What the hell, damn is she strong. He quickly stood back up. He hurt, but he also often hurt after Guy's youthful exercises. Ready to give up yet, brat? I am just getting started. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 5 Narutos appeared and quickly surrounded Tsunade, taking the opening stance of the Habi style. Tsunade just blinked once and actually took a stance of her own. Unfortunately for the clones, Tsunade had trained alongside the man who had created the style. Coupled with her impressive speed and battle-enhanced senses, the clones stood no chance. Despite being proficient at the moves they displayed, all 5 clones were quickly dispelled with a flick of the finger, as Tsunade dodged the multiple attacks with breathtaking ease. Naruto gritted his teeth in anger. There was no way to win with taijutsu, his primary strength. He couldn't overwhelm the Heim with clones, she had proved could handle it. So what would his team do? Lee would release his weights, oh yeah. He had his weights on. Right, time to go to the next level. Naruto reached down and pulled off his green weights. Tsunade let out yet another snort. What is that supposed to do, brat? This. He chucked the weights in the air, creating an arc so they would land on top of Tsunade. She simply kept her eyes on the weights and moved slightly to the left as they crashed down. Boom! Her eyes widened at the sound they made, as well as the small dent in the ground. This distraction cost her, as Naruto took the time to make another set of clones, which had rapidly closed the distance. I got caught doing a rookie mistake? She quickly recovered from the few hits that got in, and flicked the clones to oblivion. The third Naruto was the original, who was sent flying again. As the last clones were dispelled, the battered and bruised Genin hefted himself back up. Okay, that didn't work. Lee is out. Now what would Tenten do? Wait, that could work. He grinned, something Tsunade noticed. Give up, brat. I am getting tired of flicking you around, and I want to have your money to drink sake. Unnoticed by the Genin, Team 9 had appeared partly through the duel. Tenten was torn between watching Tsunade with awe, and lamenting Naruto's beatdown. Lee had wanted to charge in, only to be held back by Guy as Shizune explained the situation. His first clone had also arrived, and was cheering Naruto on. I won't back down. I am Uzumaki Naruto. I will meet any challenge in my way to be Hokage. I will one day be the strongest ninja ever. Believe it, Datbeo. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. There was a large burst of smoke. For a few seconds, nothing could be seen. Then it cleared, revealing an army of Naruto clones. 500 times 0 is still 0, brat. He smirked. Oh, I am not going to try to beat you in taijutsu. You have already proved that I can't win like that. But you see, Tenten, my teammate, well, she loves weapons. Just can't get enough to throw around actually. You can only use one finger. So I figure, why not exploit this weakness? Create a lot of clones, and chuck a lot of weapons at her. Now I am not the best thrower, and you may be able to dodge 10. But can you dodge 100? 500? Surrender, or face my wrath. Naruto suddenly blinked. Ha, I had always wanted to use that line. Now do you give up? Tsunade gritted her teeth. I am not going to lose to some snot-nosed brat like you. Fine, here we come. Barrage after barrage of kunai and shrunken were chucked at Tsunade. The onlookers had thankfully already fled the zone of devastation. Several thousand weapons were chucked over the course of several minutes. By the time it was over, the land surrounding the woman had turned into a zone of metal weapons. Kunai and shrunken was sucked up haphazardly in the ground. The woman herself has multiple weapons sticking on her limbs, blood leaking around their entry, though she had managed to dodge or deflect the ones coming at her core. Naruto didn't notice how she was carefully looking away from her body, or down, where the blood was. She smirked, and was about to claim victory when there was a score of puffs. Several of the weapons dehanged, turning into clones. Said clones quickly tackled Tsunade before she could recover, sending her to the ground. One grabbed a kunai and held it to her throat. I win Heim. In a normal battle, Tsunade would be far from beaten. She could easily overpower the clones, and smash their creator in. But in a normal battle, she wouldn't be reduced to one finger. One finger, which was too far away to act fast enough to prevent the slicing of her throat. Oh, she could survive that with a special technique, but it didn't matter. She also knew that the brat probably didn't even have the balls to slice. But that didn't matter either, any judge would declare it a victory for Naruto. She had lost by the terms of her bet. Fine, If you want to die so much for that job, the necklace is yours, you damn foolish brat. With that she ripped it off and placed it in a clone's hand. Still avoiding the sight of blood, she stood up. Shizune, where is the closest bar? I want to get roaring drunk. Her assistant hurried up to Tsunade, and quickly began healing the older woman. Naruto dispelled his clones, save for the one with his money, and watched as the majority of weapons on the battlefield also went up in smoke. He quickly began to grab the rest as his teammates and the clone approached. Good job kicking her ass, boss. Here is the money. The clone handed Naruto Gama-chan, saluted, and dispelled. Naruto. The statement made him stiffen up and face his sensei. I am proud of you for standing up for your beliefs. And I am proud of you for beating Tsunade Senju, one of the legendary Sannin, trained by the third himself, even with the limitation she put on herself. Wow, she wasn't lying? Damn, I am awesome. However, a punch rocked Naruto world. You fool, how could you do something as unyouthful as to gamble? Naruto began to cry. I am sorry, sensei. I just wanted to make some money. I promise to never be unyouthful like that again. He was full out bawling. I am so glad, Naruto. Soon your flames of youth will burn brighter than ever. Oh Naruto. Guy-sensei. Oh Naruto. Guy-sensei. Tsunade turned to look back at the brat, only to see a disturbing sight. The brat and his sensei were hugging each other and crying. What was really disturbing was how they were doing it while floating above a sea of clouds as birds flew by and the sun hanged over them. Damn brat, come on Shizune. Shizune, once again holding the loyal pig Taunton, followed her mentor. I will need to tell him tonight about the curse of the necklace. Naruto and Guy released their hug. So that was really the Tsunade that Tenten is always talking about? I thought she would be older. Indeed it was, Naruto-kun. That necklace you won once belonged to the first Hokage himself. That necklace could buy over 3 mountains. Naruto's face lit up. The firsts? Hot damn, more proof that I will one day be Hokage. Believe it, that was the cue for Tenten to start pestering Naruto about her model. As Naruto tried to feed the starving wolf with being bet that Tenten was, Lee looked back over the battlefield. He then realized something. Yosh, you may be winning now, Naruto, but I will find Tsunade-sama, challenge her, and win. Then we will be tied again. The green-clad genin ran off before Guy could consider what was just said. Wait, Lee. Unfortunately, the genin was already gone. In one of the many bars of Crater City, a busty blonde was pitching back shots of sake like there was no tomorrow. Said woman was also complaining to her younger assistant, and the dressed-up pig the assistant was holding. Damn brat. Gulp. Wants to be Hokage. Gulp. Has to be just like them. Gulp. Has to look like him. Gulp. Damn it. Why did they have to die? Gulp. The village takes everything, and that Gaki just parades right in without a care in the world. Gulp. Shizune could only look on. She could understand Tsunade's sorrow. It wasn't easy losing your loved ones, especially when you felt you were to blame. The necklace and its curse. All who had worn it had wanted to be Hokage at one point, and Tsunade was the only survivor. Only she had decided to no longer be Hokage, on the day her grandfather had died. It was at this time that Lee walked in. Aha, there you are. Tsunade turned in irritation towards the genin. What the fuck do you want? Lee's confident smile dropped at the swearing. My youthful companion beat you in a youthful match. To maintain my lead of wins over him, I must now win a challenge against you. Shizune winced. Was the entire team insane? You won't go away until I do a challenge with you, will you? Lee's smile grew brighter, and the light bounced off his teeth with an audible pain. Yosh, for it is unyouthful to back down from any challenge. This was when Tsunade got a decent idea. Fine, I challenge you to a drinking contest. We each take a shot until one person is under. Lee immediately sat down and ordered a shot of sake. Right, here I go. Guy walked in just as Lee and Tsunade downed their whole cup in one go. What happened next became an indescribable blur to the participants. The witnesses would recall several details, such as Lee immediately becoming drunk. Other notable occurrences was Guy being kicked in the balls by a Lee who had challenged him, several police officers getting knocked out while trying to subdue Lee, and Lee proposing his eternal love to Shizune, only to forget that he did so. By the end of the ordeal, Guy was speaking in a high voice. Shizune had a green spandex suite in her hands. It was to keep her forever beautiful and youthful. Tsunade had a much more sore ego at how much it took from her to restrain Lee. Multiple nerve strikes after 10 minutes of trying to pin him down, and Taunton had a taste of sake herself, which caused her to pass out. The bar was a war zone by the end, and an apologetic guy paid out the damages. The ruckus had attracted Tenten, who had gone looking for her idol. When she saw the out-of-breath Tsunade, and the destruction of the surrounding area, she wisely decided to wait a day before approaching Tsunade. After she had cleaned up Tsunade again, it had been relatively easy for Shizune to persuade Tsunade to take the rest of the night off. Both had had a very long day. "Okay Taunton, please find Naruto for me." Taunton oinked and sniffed the air. Soon the pig was trotting through the city, following the distinctive smell of fox. The pair found the boy sitting outside a hotel, fingering the first Hokage's necklace. Naruto had been thinking for a while. For him, the goal of Hokage had been an irrefutable one. He would become Hokage and earn the village's respect. He would protect the village even with his life. And then he had run into Tsunade. Someone who had been trained by the third, who had family in first and second. Someone who knew the Hokages and knew them well. And she hated the position. Hated it for claiming loved ones. She was right, every Hokage except for Gigi had died for the village. And Naruto wasn't sure he could do the same. So he sat outside, fingering the necklace, and wondering for the first time if he could actually achieve his dream. If he deserved to achieve his dream. He wanted to so badly, didn't he? Or was it simply a way to grab attention, to force the villagers to respect him? Hey! Naruto looked up to see a black-haired female holding a clothed pig. Weren't they with the Heim? Shizune, that was her name. The woman sat down. Naruto grunted in response. Shizune watched as the boy continued to finger the crystal on the necklace, his face furrowed in concentration. You know, that necklace has a lot more history to it than simply belonging to Tsunade. That got Naruto's attention. Tsunade-sama inherited that necklace from her grandfather, the first Hokage. When she was very young, she used to claim that she would be Hokage as well. Her grandfather left her the necklace in his will as an inspiration for her to achieve her dream. Instead, she gave up on it when she claimed the necklace. She also used to have a younger brother named Nawaki. She loved him very much, and you look similar to him. When he was a genin, he also expressed a desire to be the Hokage. He wanted out of his grandfather's shadow. So, like her grandfather did for her, Tsunade-sama offered the necklace to Nawaki, who accepted. The very next day he died, and the necklace was returned to Tsunade-sama. His death led to Tsunade-sama advocating for medically trained shinobi to be on the field. During this time she met my uncle, Dan Kato, who was also advocating for medically trained shinobi. The two began to date, and Dan revealed his ambition to be Hokage. Again she offered up the necklace. 3 days later, he died a bloody death in her arms, and she once again possessed the necklace. The necklace is cursed. Only those who don't want to be Hokage can wear it safely. The first Hokage himself died shortly after making the necklace. If you continue to wear it, you will die. There was a long silence as Naruto thought, crystal sliding between his fingers. There had been others who had wanted to be Hokage, who had died in the attempt. They had believed in the village, and sacrificed their lives for it. If they could do so, then so could he. I have decided. So you will give the necklace back? She held out her hand expectantly. No. I decided I won't give up on my dream. Thanks for warning me Shizune Nichan, but I, Uzumaki Naruto, will break this curse. Believe it, Datbeo. With a grin, Naruto placed the necklace on his neck, and bounded up to his room, leaving a stunned Shizune behind. Well, we did our best Taunton. The pig merely snorted. Crater City is a well-known city. At the start of every season, it held a festival, something the citizens were proud of. But what they were most proud of was their 1,000-man police force. The 1,000-man police force was the most effective police force in the country, and had been ever since the Uchiha massacre. They kept the peace in a town full of partying drunks, and solved what few crimes that did happen with relative ease. Crater City was one of the safest cities with a great police force. Said police force was entirely unprepared, and unable to handle the organized and cutthroat bandit force that invaded that morning. Why would they be equipped to handle bandits? They were big enough to deal with small groups with ease, and not rich enough to attract the attention of the few large groups out there. Despite that, The police force did do an admirable job of protecting the citizens of Crater City until Team 9 arrived. The first sign for Team 9 that something was wrong were the screams as civilians ran down the street. Guy, channeling Charka to his ears, was able to hear the sounds of combat up ahead. Team 9, prepare for combat. Lee, Naruto, take off your weights. To his eternal pleasure, his team reacted immediately and without complaint. Lee and Naruto took off their weights and handed them to Tenten so she could seal them in the storage scroll. A determined look entered their eyes. Let's do this. The team took to the roofs, hopping across the sprawling buildings of Crater City. Soon all could hear the signs of combat. Then it came into view. Police officers, most only armed with batons, were clashing with bandits armed with a variety of lethal weapons. At the center, 3 missing nins, with Kahona headbands no less, were leading the charge. Naruto, use your clones to aid the officers. Hi. Fingers in the cross position, Naruto gave a mighty shout. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Over 100 Naruto clones poofed into existence. Screaming war cries, the newfound army crashed into the invading forces, forcing them to a halt. Only the nuke nin pressed onward. Thump. Team 9 jumped in front of the group, ready to fight. Well, look what we have here, Dajimu. Bunch of nutcases who think they can take us out. The one on the left, with a pair of short swords and an ugly red scar patch on his face, had addressed the center one, who looked like a mummy, wrapped up in white strips. Indeed, Akane. You and Gari take out the brats. I'll deal with the big bad Junin. Let's show them why we left the weak village. The third nin, who looked rather porky, nodded. Naruto, take on Akane. Lee and Tenten, you get Gari. I'll take the leader. Hi sensei. The group split off to do battle. While they began to trade blows, another pair of ninja watched from the entrance of a nearby building. Don't you think we should help them? No, Shizune. I want to see how well he does. The younger woman sighed. Very well, Tsunade-sama. Guy quickly rushed forward, hoping to end the fight quickly. He was forced to stop and dodge as the enemy shinobi's wrappings suddenly whipped out, slicing the air around him. Several coils cut at Guy, who weaved through the attacks but could not push forward. Guy retreated backwards, noticing the gouge marks in the ground from the wrappings. You like? It's my specialty, wind-infused wrappings. These babies can cut through anything. Dajimu raised his hands, and several strands of wrappings lashed out at Guy. The Junin did a quick series of leaps and flips to dodge the strands. After ducking under a swing by Dajimu, Guy rushed forward, trying to get under the nuke nin's guard. Again the wrappings around his body flew out, forcing Guy to retreat. The cat and mouse game continued for several minutes. During this time, Guy began to notice a pattern. He can use his arms wrappings at all times. However, the full body wrappings only stay active for 10 seconds, and always in the same pattern. There seems to be a 4-second cooldown. I can exploit that weakness. He jumped over the hand wrappings and pressed an attack, smiling. He did not smirk, that was unyouthful, as the body wrappings flew out. Staying just outside their range, he waited until the 10 seconds were up, and the wrappings were receding. Now, he pressed forward, ready to land a devastating punch. Pain. It was all over his body. He was suddenly aware that he was on the ground, bleeding in multiple places. You fool. You actually thought I couldn't control my body wrappings like my arms? Ha, now die. He could not die here. That would be most unyouthful. The lotus blooms twice. Gate of opening, release. The surge of energy in Guy's body allowed him to roll out of the way. Gate of healing, release. Gate of life, release. What is this madness? Madness? This is youth. With speed far beyond what he had previously displayed, Guy stood up and punched Dajimu so hard the man went through 2 walls. Guy gave him no reprieve, and bolted through the holes to land a vicious uppercut. As the man's body flew up, Guy jumped as well, and delivered an axe kick upon descent to the nuke nin's sternum. There was a resounding crack as the ribcage shattered. Dajimu's head was grasped, and turned with a sickening snap. The body fell down, its life extinguished. Guy barely spared the cooling corpse a glance. He quickly closed the gates, and went off in search of his genin. Lee and Tenten had quickly moved away to another area, staying out of their sensei's fight. Their opponent mistook their prudence as cowardice. Ah, are the brats too afraid to play? Well, too bad for you. The man threw a slow punch at Lee, who blocked with his forearm, pushing the fist upwards. Lee countered with a kidney punch that should have sent the man backwards, except nothing happened. Lee swiftly moved out of the way of another slow punch, giving Tenten a clear shot. Several kunai went spinning towards the nen, only to bounce of the nen. Gari smiled. I see you have discovered the futility of trying to pierce my mud armor. The hard mud on the top repels you weapons, and the soft mud below absorbs the shocks of your hits. I am invulnerable to your puny attacks. The next minute saw a flurry of attacks by Lee and Tenten. After a few futile throws, she switched to targeting the man's eyes, figuring that the goggles he wore couldn't protect him that well. The kunai that bounced off his goggle without leaving a scratch proved otherwise. Seeing only one choice, Tenten pulled out her demolition class exploding tag. Gari was getting annoyed at this point. Sure, it was fun watching the kids try to break through his armor, but the damn gnats just wouldn't stay still. He was bored, and it was time to end this. Weaving through the hand signs with surprising speed, Gari shot a ball of compressed water out at Lee. Lee saw this, and quickly moved out of the way. The ball of water continued forward, hitting Tenten directly in the stomach, having been right behind Lee. Tenten doubled over, her hand releasing the note in Lee's direction. Gari moved forward in the biggest burst of speed he had displayed, grabbing Tenten by the throat and hoisting her upwards. Now you die, little girl. Tenten struggled to break the hold, but was unable to. Lee saw the events with horror spreading across his face. Then the demolition note fluttered down in front of him. Lee seized it like a lifeline. Lee knew the basics of exploding tags, something Tenten loved to use. He knew this was a powerful one she refused to use in practice. So he closed his eyes and concentrated. He felt the flow of his chakra, wild and unmolded. He pulled and prayed. A hissing sound made him open his eyes. The tag was lit. With renewed gusto, Lee slammed the tag into Gari's back, and immediately headed for a safe distance. "Ha, you think that will?" The resulting explosion was huge. Lee, a good 10 meters away, felt the heat from the blast, and was rocked by the shockwave. Tenten was lucky. Gari's body shielded her from the worst damage. She was still sent flying through the wall that Gari had pinned her up against. By the end of her flight, both her shoulder blades were broken and she was covered in splinters. But she was gloriously alive, and that was what mattered. Guy, who had heard the explosion, soon arrived and began to help Tenten. It would be another day before the full implications of the event would hit them. Naruto quickly created several more clones and charged with them at his opponent, who readied his two short swords. Naruto closed the distance and launched a flurry of attacks. His opponent expertly weaved around the attacks, only taking a few grazes while slicing his opponents to oblivion. The original took a slice on the back of his left hand and retreated. The guy was fast. Not Tsunade fast, but much faster than he was. He was good at dodging, and moved the swords with great fluidity. He was dangerous. Naruto fell back, unknowingly heading towards the two women watching them. Naruto quickly created another set of clones. While he and several clones held of Akane, two fell back to set up some traps. The moment they were done, they dispelled, causing Naruto to fall back. It looked like his time as a prankster would pay off. He fell back and jumped over the tripwire. Akane, in his hurry, ran straight through the tripwire and towards the next squad of clones, only to be caught off guard as a large volley of kunai and shrunken flew towards him. In a great show of swordsmanship, he managed to dodge or deflect the majority of the projectiles, only taking a shrunken to the leg. He then dispatched the other clones. Naruto was panting at this point. He felt weak, tired. His vision was starting to blacken around the edges. Akane laughed. "So you are finally feeling the effect of my black seed poison? I was wondering if I had actually hit you. Soon, you muscles will completely seize as your chakra coils are constricted and cut off." He looked at the two women, clearly no longer regarding Naruto as a threat. "Well, look what we have here. Some fine women who are going to keep my comfortable tonight. Oh yes, Indao." Fuck. Shizune and Tsunade had readied themselves to fight, and really, they could take these guys out without breaking a sweat, when a kunai planted itself in Akane's left shoulder blade, causing him to drop the short sword in his left hand. "You little brat, stay down." Naruto had picked himself up. His vision was swimming and he felt so weak, but he wasn't going down without a fight. "I am Uzumaki Naruto, the future Hokage. A Hokage has to protect his people at any cost. So if I must give up my life to do so, then I will do it gladly. The genin grabbed a kunai with his right hand, and cut Bello the slice in his hands. I swear so on my own blood. I will protect the people here. Missing Tsunade's cries of blood, Naruto charged forward. Akane bellowed in response, and launched his own charge. He held his remaining sword in both hands, readying for a swift plunge. Naruto saw the blade coming in slow motion. He knew he had little time left. If he dodged, fell back, he could at best only wound the man. His next action had to be fatal to his opponent. So he shifted his body slightly lower, and forced the blade through him, and stabbed. As the sword went through his lower shoulder, just 3 centimeters above his heart, his kunai buried itself in his opponent's own heart. "You brat!" The man collapsed, releasing his sword and leaving Naruto standing there. "Hey, is that you, Shizune Nichan?" Naruto collapsed. "Naruto." Shizune ran forward. "Tsunade, I need your help. I can counter the poison, but he will bleed out. I need you here, now." Tsunade wasn't seeing Naruto bleed out. She was seeing her younger brother, Nawaki, the one she never had a chance to even try to save. Before meeting Naruto, she had sometimes dreamed about being there, about saving her brother. She began to superimpose the two. "Nawaki, I have to save Nawaki." The medical Sanin lurched forward, and began to treat her patient. Kurama, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, slept peacefully in his cage. Until the first time its host called upon his chakra, the great beast would be forced to sleep by the seal. And so he slept, and dreamt. Sometimes it was good times, sometimes it was bad. But he was always dreaming. He was smaller, younger, and standing in front of his now deceased father, the Sage of 6 Paths. "Kurama, I am dying. You know it and I know it. I also know that humanity will soon revert back to their wiring ways. Kurama, you have to look after your siblings and humanity. Do not lose hope, for one day a savior will be born, and you will be linked to him." One day, the sage disappeared, and Kurama howled in sorrow. Then everything began to turn black. For the first time in his life, Kurama felt fear. Eventual, light came back, and his dreams continued. Still, it was a long time before the beast could sleep peacefully again. Team 9 may have emerged victorious from the Battle of Crater City, but they certainly didn't come out without any scraps. Maida Guy nearly died from blood loss, with the opening of the gates accelerating the bleeding from his wounds. Tenten had 2 broken shoulders, an infection, and bruised ribs. Naruto had received a deadly poison and had an artery above the heart cut open. Only Lee came out with no dangerous injuries. Tsunade and Shizune tended the team, nursing them back to full health. The first to recover was Naruto. He was ecstatic over his first victory, loudly proclaiming about how it was worthy of a future Hokage. Guy soon followed, and celebrated his most youthful team's victory. Tenten was the longest one in recovering, and was torn between worshipping her idol and being repulsed by her drinking and gambling habits. And Lee, well, Lee just cleaned up the bar he wrecked, swearing to never have alcohol again. During this time several things happened. The first was Tenten asking Tsunade if she could teach her anything. Tsunade decided to test Tenten's chakra control, and discovered she had abysmal control. In the end there was little she could teach, just basic acupuncture with Sebon. She still encouraged Tenten to follow her dream of becoming a strong kunoichi. The second event was when Tenten pulled Lee over in an open area, with the rest of the team and Tsunade, Shizune, and Tenten watching. "Lee, I want you to follow these instructions on the book." Lee looked dubious, but complied. Soon he had drawn a perfect basic sealing seal on the scroll, the most basic type of seal. He stopped there. "Well, go on." Lee shrugged, and challenged some chakra into the seal with the brush on top. Chakra he could not mold. So it was a great surprise to him, as well as to Guy and Naruto, when the brush was sealed in the scroll. "Congratulations Lee, you can do sealing." 1. Guy was beyond joy. He and Lee began crying manly tears of youth, hugging each other all the while. Lee could seal, like the fourth. It was great. Tsunade slipped away, only to return with a book for Lee. It was called, oddly enough, "So You Aren't a Genius? Fuinjutsu for Your Average Joes." The author called himself the gallant Jiraiya. Lee began to read the story with great gusto, enthusiastic about this new avenue for training. The third event was when Tsunade declared that she would accompany them back to Kohona, to make sure they didn't die of complications. Naruto thought it was sweet, and said as much. He was flicked through several walls, and got up grinning. I knew you couldn't resist me. Tenten spent the rest of the afternoon laughing while Lee and Guy applauded Naruto's youthful training method as he ran for his life from an irate Tsunade. Shizune packed, and Taunton. Well, no one paid attention to Taunton. Soon, it was time for the team to go home. This led to the fourth and final event. As the team was leaving, the city's mayor intercepted them. On behalf of Crater City, I would like to thank you for saving our city. We took the liberty of cashing in your bounties. Here are the rewards. Naruto's eyes lit up at the cash. Gamma-chan was going to be full for a long time. Thank you for doing such a thing, Mayor-san. The middle-aged man nodded. Oh, and one other thing. We are going to have a new annual festival to commemorate the event. To do so properly, we need to know who saved us. Team 9 grinned as one. We are Team 9. Junin Commander, Guy Maeda, Genin Apprentices, Uzumaki Naruto, Rock Lee, Hasawada Tenten. With that, the Battle of Crater City, a 2-day festival, was born. Sarutobi Hiruzen had seen a lot through his life. He had been surprised by many things, and had learned how to keep the surprise in check, to make it appear as if he knew everything. So he remained passive when Team 9 entered the mission office, over a week late from their mission. Hey Gigi, you will never guess what happened. The third Hokage opened his mouth to inquire, but stopped when he noticed Naruto's appearance. Specifically the necklace he wore. Is that the, hey sensei, I'm back. Hiruzen's pipe fell out of his open mouth. Naruto could not help it. He laughed at the Hokage's slack-jawed expression. The old man was never surprised, well, except for his anti-pervert attack. That had caught the old man off guard. He didn't even notice how quiet the room had gotten. Tsunade-chan. You, the necklace, what happened? The gaki happened. Tsunade ignored Naruto's protests about being a gaki. Little brat called me out in a duel and W on my necklace. Hiruzen smirked. What was that? I couldn't hear you. Could you say it louder? Tsunade's eye began to twitch. Don't worry about it, Haim. I beat you like I beat Gigi, with trickery. The twitch had switched people. Really? How did the gaki beat you? I at least had a handicap, one finger allowed. What is your excuse? Hiruzen opened his mouth to retort, only to be beaten by Naruto. He's just an old pervert. He has that same orange book Kakashi is always reading, so I just used my anti-pervert jutsu. Now two people had twitching eyes. Sensei, are you reading my perverted teammates' books? The old man was sweating now. Well, they are well written. And do have a good plot. Anyways, do you want to look over the hospital and medical programs, to add your input? Since the piece, we have implemented your original idea. I know what you are doing, Sensei, but I will let you off the hook this time. Yes, I think I would like to. The third nodded, mostly in relief. Cat. A cat-masked Anbu appeared. Please escort Tsunade and her assistant to the medical records. Full clearance. Hi Hokage-sama. The mask-wearing woman bowed. Please follow me, Tsunade-sama. The group left. Hiruzen turned to Guy. Give me a full debrief. So Guy talked. He talked about the actual mission, and how nothing had occurred save some youthful team bonding. He talked about how he decided to give his team a day in Crater City. About how Naruto ran into Tsunade, challenged her, and won. How Lee had gotten drunk and caused a huge mess. How the bandits led by the missing ninja attacked, and how his team defeated them. Finally, he talked about the aftermath. Well, it appears congratulations are in order. Team 9, outstanding work in Crater City. I am writing down the defense as an unplanned B-rank mission. You will be compensated for your hard work. Well done. Thank you Hokage-same, Gigi. Team 9, you are dismissed for the rest of the day. The team saluted and marched out. Your son is already making waves. You would be so very proud of him. 2 months passed as the team continued to train. Lee became the team's Fuinjutsu user. He couldn't be called an expert by any means, or even at an intermediate level. Despite his discovered ability and decent talent in the arts, he had little means to improve his skills. Most of his learning had to be done from reading, and he had little time with all the training Guy was giving him. Despite that, he could now make blood-sealing scrolls, the standard for ninjas, and level 1 and 2 explosive notes, much to Naruto's and Tenten's delight. Naruto had further improved his basics. He could now do a kawarimi without hand seals, something he had realized he should have used in his fight with the swordsman, and was working on the explosive tags variant. His taijutsu style had also improved, with Tsunade occasionally providing helpful tips. Tenten, having already reached her maximum potential for accuracy, was now focusing on the speed and power of her throws. The end result was that she could throw out a lot more weapons with a lot more force. She had also learned basic herbal medicine from Shizune, and was considering dabbling in poisons. My youthful team, it is time to rest for the night. Tomorrow we shall undertake another C-rank mission. This one is simple, we will be demonstrating for the newest class in the academy. Now go get some rest. Hi Guy-sensei. The group dispersed. Awesome, I will get to see Iruka-sensei again. Sit down and be quiet. Naruto winced as Iruka's head swelled to enormous proportions, bellowing out his command. The room went silent. Today class we have some special visitors. Please welcome Team 9, led by Guy Maeda, who teaches Uzumaki Naruto, Rock Lee, and Hasawata Tenten. They will answer any questions you have, and then demonstrate some of their abilities outside. Bang! The door flung open as a kid with a ridiculously long scarf came running in. The scarf predictably went under the kid's foot, and he tripped. Iruka could only groan as Konohamaru picked himself off of the ground. Who tripped me? He spotted Naruto, who was closest. It was you. Admit it, you tripped me. Naruto grabbed the kid by his shirt, pulling him slightly upward. Listen punk, you tripped over your own damn scarf. Don't go accusing people of stuff they didn't do. Konohamaru smirked. You won't hurt me. I am the third's grandson. Naruto blinked, then backhanded the kid to the floor. I don't care if you're the third grandson or his father. You accused me of something you did to yourself, and you didn't sneak into Iruka-sensei's class when you were late like I did, so I didn't disrupt class. Now get to your seat. The surprised grandson picked himself up and walked to his seat, unusually subdued. Iruka cleared his throat. Right. Who has a question? Many hands were raised as kids clamored for attention. Iruka called on one student. How long have you been a team? 6 months. Lee answered first. How strong are you? They are at C rank, which is rather high for the amount of time this team has formed. Guy, have you beaten up any bad guys? Why yes, we have. We even saved a city in the process. This wasn't strictly true, as Tsunade and Shizune could have easily laid waste to the enemy force. What are your goals? Naruto had to answer first. I am going to be Hokage. No you aren't, that's what I am going to be. Naruto turned, and faced Konohamaru. Oh? And why will you be Hokage? Because I am being taught the shortcuts to become Hokage. You fool. Naruto slammed a fist down upon Iruka's desk, and then began to pace in a way reminiscent of his Chunin instructor. There are no shortcuts to the Hokage hat. It is a long journey, a hard journey. To be Hokage, you have to be strong. You have to be smart and cunning. But above all else, you have to be willing to sacrifice. Naruto unzipped his orange spandex slightly, and pulled his left shoulder covering down, exposing the scar there. This scar I got in my last fight. I had been poisoned earlier, and was feeling the effects. I knew that in a few moments, I would be incapacitated, unable to help the civilians in the city. So I charged him, and forced my body to be impaled all the way through his sword so I could kill him. If it weren't for the fact that 2 of the greatest medical shinobi ever produced by Kahona happened to be literally 2 meters from me, I would have died there. I fully expected to do so. So until you are willing to sacrifice everything, you can never be Hokage. Iruka could only look upon Naruto with pride. You have grown so much, my student. Guy was on the verge of crying manly tears, but was stopped by Tenten sending him a heated glare. There would be a time to celebrate the youthfulness of his team, but not right now. Lee was in the same boat. The class asked a few more questions, but the impromptu speech Naruto had given had caused everyone to be a little subdued. Soon it was time for the demonstrations. The class made its way out to the training field. In the sparring ring, Lee and Naruto had a duel. Naruto showcased his ability to use shadow clones, while Lee displayed his superior speed and strength. Naruto proved himself victorious. Tenten rounded up the demonstration by showing of her accuracy, and then causing the last target to explode with a tag. Needless to say, the kids were greatly awed by the explosion, coupled by the fact that she did not look at it. Class ended, and the team separated, each headed home for the evening. It was along his walk home that Naruto first noticed the square rock that was following him. Alright, I know you are under there. Rocks aren't square, and they don't have eye holes. Come out. There was a bang, and a bunch of smoke emerged from the box. Cough, cough, I think we used too much gunpowder. Konohamaru and two other kids emerged from the smoke. I know who you are, but who are your friends? The boy with the sleepy look pointed to himself. I'm Udon, and I like math. I'm Moegi, the most beautiful kunoichi around. That was the girl with orange hair that poofed upwards in two cones. What do you guys want? We want you to be our boss, the boss of the Konohamaru Corps. Naruto thought about it for a few seconds. Sure, that sounds awesome. Follow me to Training Ground 9, and I will show you a lifesaver of a move. Naruto surveyed the academy students. Alright, it has been several hours, and you guys seem to have it down. Let's take a break. Konohamaru flopped down onto the ground. Thanks boss. Naruto simply waved him off. Don't mention it. The two sat in silence for a short time. Nearby, Udon and Moegi were talking. Say, why do you want to be Hokage? Konohamaru looked down. People don't see me as Konohamaru. They see me as the third's grandson. It is always, honorable grandson, to me. I want to become Hokage to prove that I am Konohamaru, and not simply his grandson. Naruto understood. He had wanted to be Hokage at first to become acknowledged. Now he had a different reason, but he could still understand. You know, you don't have to be Hokage to be acknowledged. When you shoot for the hat, make sure it is for the right reasons. Don't worry boss, it will be good, because when you become my rival for the hat, I want it to be for the right reason. Konohamaru blinked, then understanding filled his face. A rival, eh? Fine, from now on we are rivals for the Hokage hat. Naruto simply smiled. Suddenly, a Junin with sunglasses and a black coat leapt among the group. There you are honorable grandson. I have been looking for you all afternoon. What have? Ebisu-sensei, look what we can do. The three students stood up and went through 5 hand seals. There were 3 puffs, and logs appeared in their place. You learned the kawarimi? How? The shock was evident. I taught them. Ebisu pushed up his glasses with his index finger. I see. Well, thank you. Come on, it's time for you to head home. Konohamaru nodded. Yeah, I guess it is time. Thanks for the lessons boss. No problem. With that, Naruto left for home. Kabuto was a good spy. So when he heard Tsunade was back, he immediately sent off reports to the many men who thought he was their spy, and to the one he truly was a spy for. After all, a good spy keeps on top of unexpected events. Kabuto was a man with plans. With Tsunade taking over the hospital and looking over the medical corps, he had to be more careful. He also had to have new escape plans in place. Tsunade-sama would like to speak with you, Kabuto. Kabuto already had several plans ready to be used at a moment's notice when he was summoned by Shizune. I will be right there. The spy for many people, but truly for only one, followed the Junin to her master's office. She knocked twice on the door. Enter. Kabuto entered, and allowed a little apprehension to show on his face. After all, the Kabuto of the leaf was a nervous boy. Sit down. Kabuto complied. Stop looking so nervous, I did not send for you to reprimand you. Far from it. I have been looking over your file, and I think you have the potential to be a great medical shinobi. That is why I am offering you the chance to be my apprentice. The surprise on Kabuto's face was real. He had never expected this to happen. But like any good spy, he knew how to change a surprise into an advantage. I would be honored to be your student, Tsunade-sensei. I have intercepted the spy, Leader-sama. He did not make contact with the Toad Sage like he planned to. It appears the sage was too busy trying to find his teammate when she dropped off his grid. How ironic. The Kahona spy master couldn't find his teammate in his own village. The one place where he has no spies, and thus no information. We had no exposure. Good. We won't need to push up our timetables. Our designs remain hidden to the world. Itachi, Kisame, you no longer are to pursue the Ninetales. All Akatsuki forces are to continue bounty hunting to generate money. This meeting is over. Team 9, over a year old since its formation, entered the mission room, and smirked as they saw a team flinch as they were assigned the Retrieve Tora mission. Aha! There you are, my eternal rival. And this must be your team. At those words, Lee and Naruto scrutinized the team. The Junin commander had silver hair that defied gravity. A mask and headband covered the majority of his face. A lazy eye was reading an orange book. "I'm sorry, did you say something?" Guy looked outraged. Two boys dominated the team, each with black hair. One's was shaped like a duck's ass in Naruto's opinion, while the others had no personality. The duck butt looked rather uninterested, and the plain boy had a fake smile. And then he saw her. She was like an angel, with beautiful pink hair and a lovely, wide forehead. She was perfect, such hair belonged to the goddess of beauty. That wasn't to say that Tenten was pretty, she was, but she didn't have this perfect hair. It was brighter than his. He leapt forward, startling the beauty as he landed in front of her. "Hi, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I find you very beautiful. Will you go out with me?" A tick mark appeared on her face. "No way, you creep." She decked him, sending him crashing into the ground. "I only have eyes for my Sasuke-kun." The duck butt purposefully ignored said eyes. Lee looked disappointed, realizing that he didn't have a chance either. What a youthful attempt. Unfortunately, it was not to be. Naruto agreed, and completely missed Tenten's annoyance. "I see you have met one of my youthful students, Naruto. He is the last person to graduate early from the academy." Suddenly, Sasuke's gaze was upon him. The Junin was also looking him over, and Naruto realized he was being seized up. I want to fight you." Naruto shrugged. "Sure, I will answer any challenges. Just let my team get our mission." That seemed to snap Guy out of his annoyance at his rival's hip cool attitude. "Team 9 is requesting a C-rank mission." The old man nodded. "I have just the thing. Tazuna-san, please come in." An elderly man, who clutched a bottle of sake like it was his lifeline, walked in. "Team 9, your mission is to escort Tazuna-san back to his country and to protect his bridge while it is being built from a possible bandit attack. Do you accept your mission?" "Hi Hokage-sama, Gigi." The bridge builder looked them over. "So I am to be protected by the Freak Squad? Are you sure they can handle this?" Guy simply laughed. "Worry not. My most youthful team is quite capable of defending you. We have already been through a B-rank fight." The man's eyes widened. "Good. I will be leaving tomorrow at 8 in the morning. Be there." The slightly drunk man left. Sasuke was even more interested in a fight. "Let us go outside so we can fight." The groups left the tower and quickly headed for an unused field. Kakashi was the referee for the match. This is a standard spar between Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. There will no fatal blows or maiming. You stop when I say stop, or when an opponent surrenders. Ready, begin. As Kakashi leapt backwards, Sasuke charged forward, ready to use his interceptor fist. He was on the ground, staring at the sky. A fist was pointed at his forehead, while another hand held his shirt. What the hell had happened? Sakura could only gasp. Her Sasuke-kun had been defeated, and badly too. How is this possible? Sia simply maintained his false smile. "Well, it looks like lost, eh ugly?" Sakura shot him a very evil look that even made the lazy Junin cringe. "Winner, Naruto." Naruto stood up. "Your stance was good, but you were much too slow. And your eyes, they hold only hatred. You cannot get strong on hatred alone. What do you know?" Sasuke spat out the words. "All I have left is my vengeance against the man who killed my family in front of me. I have to hate him, I have to grow stronger through my hatred. It is all that I am." Naruto shook his head. "You fool, hatred can only get you so far. If we had fought a year ago, you would have beaten me as cleanly as I beat you. But then I became a part of Team 9. I found friends, and a reason to grow stronger. And grown I have. You could do the same." Sasuke shook his head. "I can't have any more people who I care about. Not while that man is still alive. Otherwise, he will take them away from me. Only in my hatred am I, and the rest of you, safe." Naruto blinked, and walked away. What could he say to a statement like that? While this had been happening, Guy and Kakashi had their own silent conversation. A nod from Kakashi. "You have done well in training him." A tilt of the head. "Thank you. He will be yours soon." An eye smile in acknowledgement. "Come along Team 7, we have a cat to catch." The team left the training field. "Well done Naruto. Team 9, you have the rest of the day off. Prepare for your mission." "Hi sensei." Kabuto walked into a lab, looking for his sensei. "Ah, Tsunade-sama, I have a question for you." The Sannin just grunted. "I was wondering, how does one treat a continuous disease that you can't remove?" "Seals." Kabuto blinked twice. "Seals? Why hadn't he thought of that? Seals could be applied to treat the patient. They would need to be updated over periods of time, and could be disrupted, but they could work. This was the answer he was looking for, the answer he had apprenticed himself under Tsunade to receive. His master would be so proud. Thank you. He turned to leave. There would be some researching to do, but he did have some time. Bang! The door flew into the wall. Hey Heim, Kabuto Nissan. Brad, don't do that. You are disrupting my research. Now, why are you here? Naruto looked apologetic. Sorry, I am going out on another C rank, and this one may last a while. So I came to say goodbye. And Kabuto, remember to take care of Shizune Nichan, or else. Kabuto nodded. It had come to him as a surprise when Shizune had asked him out on a date. He had agreed, feeling he could use the assistant as a way to get closer to Tsunade. They were partly through the movie at Shizune's house when Naruto burst in. He was demanding to speak to Kabuto in an attempt to warn him against hurting Shizune, only to be temporarily paralyzed by Shizune's Seban. She had then explained how she was the one who asked him out, and that she could take care of herself just fine. She then grabbed Naruto and threw him out the door, leaving the poor boy helpless on the ground until a passing-by ninja removed the Seban. Naruto had run into Kabuto several times since the incident, and generally reminded the silver-haired medic of the threat, despite not fully getting said threat out. Still, over time he had warmed up to the faux genin, and started calling him Kabuto Nissan. Kabuto actually liked the Kyuubi container. He was so sure of who he was, despite his complete lack of a background. He defined himself, something Kabuto had trouble doing. Kabuto would actually be somewhat sorry when the kid died. I remember Naruto-kun. Don't worry, I won't harm her. Tsunade, on the other side of the room, looked rather happy. Excellent. So you will be out of my hair for a few weeks, Gaki? I haven't heard better news all month. Naruto scowled. Just you wait. In a few days you will be sending me letters begging the future Hokage to come home. With that, he marched out of the room to tell his other friends, and the Konohamaru Corps, that he was leaving. Kabuto soon left to do some research on seals. He had heard that Jiraiya had written a book on seals. Maybe he should look at it. It would be like being trained by all three Sannin. Naruto awoke to his alarm clock in his apartment. The first thing he saw was a poster of, "You can do it." Lee was right, it was a good poster. He turned off his alarm and stretched. He watered the many plants in his room and washed up. After eating a breakfast, ramen with veggies, he was allowed to indulge today because it was the start of a C-rank mission, and he was grateful to Guy-sensei for showing him how to eat properly. He headed outside. Tenten sleepily hit her alarm, turning it off. She looked around her room, and harvested some of the petals from her plants to make her herbal cures and poisons. She then stowed them away in one of the storage seals Lee had made, and prepared herself for the mission. In under 30 minutes, she was out the door. Lee got up to the sound of his alarm clock. With a cry of, "Youth," he rapidly showered and changed. His room was full of books on taijutsu and fuinjutsu. A sound seal was on his door, placed so he wouldn't bother his parents with his exuberant shouting. There was an expensive weight system in one corner of the room. Lee hurried downstairs to his mother's cooking. After a quick meal, he rushed out. He would be first to the gate, and if he couldn't, he would 100 double-clap finger push-ups. Tazuna was drinking when he arrived at the gate, where Team 9 had already assembled. Right, let's get this over with. With that underwhelming start, the mission began. The team had been walking for several hours when Tenten spotted the first sign of trouble. There is a puddle lying in the middle of the road when it hasn't rained for several days. It's a trap. Enemies. She quickly armed 2 kunai with explosive tags and chucked them at the puddle. A pair of nins jumped out of the range of the explosives, and the genjutsu puddle faded. Get the brats. The men were armed with a pair of claws connected by a chain. They wore gas masks and had slashed mist headbands on. The 2 charged, only to be quickly taken out. The larger was knocked out by a swift kick from Guy, while Lee, supported by Naruto and a bunch of his clones, mobbed the other. The fight, if it could be called that, had lasted a mere 20 seconds. What a most youthful fight. Naruto, create some clones to send these nins to Kahona for interrogation. And let me get those claws, they look useful. Tenten added. Hi sensei. Several more clones poofed into existence. Lee, can you place some chakra suppression seals on them? Lee quickly drew up the seals, and slapped them on the navel of each captured nin. Tenten had already taken the claws, and was removing the chain and changing them to fit one person. Thanks. The clones then hoisted the men, threw them over their shoulders, and began to run towards Kahona. Wow, you lot are good. Tazuna had a surprised, and slightly worried face. Guy smiled. Indeed. Now, let us continue onward. After a couple of hours of traveling, the group came upon a man with a boat waiting for them. We will cross here. Oh, and could you be quiet, my friend has sensitive hearing. Short Tazuna. Naruto whispered. The man had a strained smile that no one noticed. Wow, is it misty? Holy shit. Through the mist, a giant bridge could be seen. It is super amazing, isn't it? That is my bridge. Tazuna had a touch of pride in his voice. The group soon reached the other side. Right, off you go. And good luck. The boatman let them disembark from his boat. Thanks, but I doubt there will be any situation where we will need luck. Naruto struck a nice guy pose, and then left with his team. The group continued onward. So Tenten, you think you got the hang of those claws? She nodded. Yeah, I removed the chain, that is useless for one person. The claws are dipped in poison, so that is nice. The fingers are flexible, so I can still throw, I just need some practice while wearing them. Say, Guy-sensei, do you know any good styles that incorporate claws? Guy nodded. The Raging Fox style should suit you well. It is get down. Everyone threw themselves to the ground, with Guy forcing Tazuna to the ground. A massive sword flew over their head, embedding itself in a tree. On top of the sword was a massive man, whose lower face was covered in wraps. The man was about to speak when he was interrupted. Oh my god, it is the legendary sword Kabikirabocho I want it. Tenten was speaking so fast she appeared unable to breathe, not taking a single pause in her run-on sentence. The girl lurched forward, hands stretched out as if to grab the sword. She was quickly tackled by her two teammates. No Tenten, you can't take the sword until after we have beaten him. Yash, and stealing is most unyouthful. Zabuza was getting annoyed at how they didn't even seem to notice his killing intent. So I take it you lot won't just step aside and let me kill the bridge builder? That caused everyone to look at him. Eh? Why would you want to kill the drunk? Zabuza blinked, and then faced Tazuna. They don't know? You didn't tell them? Ha! This man has the biggest bounty in Wave for building his bridge. I am the bridge builder. You see, Wave has been taken over by a corrupt businessman, Gato. He has been squeezing us dry and moving in with illegal business. He has sabotaged our boats, crippling our trade. If I can complete my bridge, it will break his blockade, and end his economic stranglehold on my country. But we are too poor to afford a proper mission. All the entire country could pay for was a C rank. So we tricked you. Guy just simply smiled and struck the nice guy pose. Do not worry, Tazuna-san. We forgive you for lying. We will liberate your country from the unyouthful Gato. He then pulled out a set of special nunchaku. It was a well-crafted weapon, with the handles carved in the likeness of a dragon. I will duel the Zabuza and his Kabikirabocho with my Soshuga. Zabuza merely laughed, and made a hand sign. Sweden. Kirigakure no Jutsu. The man vanished into the mist. There are 8 lethal. There was a sound of something striking water, then water falling, then nothing. The real Zabuza blinked. His water clone was already destroyed? His opponent was more dangerous than he had thought. Best take out the bridge builder quickly and not try to claim a bounty. How was this guy not in his personal bingo book? He stealthily headed towards the bridge builder, who was being guarded by the brats. Got hurt. He fell back, having been hit in the stomach by Guy's weapon. How was this man finding him? He was a master at silent moving. He dodged 2 more strikes from the Junin, and then swung with his sword. The man ducked, and fell back slightly. Zabuza then realized something. His opponent had his eyes closed. He was used to fighting without his vision. He ended the jutsu, realizing it was just costing him chakra. Guy-sensei, the mist has cleared. The man opened his eyes. I must commend you. You are the first to fight me as an equal in my mist. Now the true duel begins. Throwing stealth to the wind, Zabuza attacked. He thrust and swung his sword, only for his opponent to dodge and deflect, and then launch his own attack. This Junin was damn good. He tried to weave hand signs, but had to break off when the Junin quickly attacked. This was growing troublesome. Suddenly the man shouted, Gate of Life, open. The Junin's speed suddenly increased greatly. Zabuza was on the defensive. Tenten cut him off. It was one of the twerps. A rain of kunai, hissing with explosive notes, flew overhead and landed behind Zabuza, forcing him forward. He charged desperately, only to be knocked out with a blow to the head. The battle was over. Tenten ran for the sword, only to be stopped when a hunter nin jumped out. "Thank you for taking down my quarry." Two Sebon flashed out of the hunter's hands, and into Zabuza's neck. "Now I must take my quarry back to my village." "Oi, you can't just do that. He was down, he wasn't a threat. You can't just kill a downed opponent like that, it is wrong." Guy looked at Naruto sadly. "Naruto-kun, sometimes the orders are to kill someone, no matter what. It is part of the shinobi way. I don't like it." Tenten started to head for the sword again, only to be halted by the hunter nin. "My quarry includes the sword. Let it go, Tenten-chan. Besides, that sword so totally doesn't fit your style. It is way too heavy. I'll bet you have trouble even lifting it." Tenten pouted, but realized Naruto was right. Lee approached the hunter. "Are you in need of any sealing scrolls? I can create one really fast." The hunter shook his head. "No, I am fine." He grabbed the body and disappeared into the forest. Guy closed the first gate and the group continued walking to Wave. None of them, not even Tenten, realized that the Sebon hadn't killed Zabuza. Team 9 approached a house hidden in the woods. Tazuna went up and opened the door. "I'm back everyone, and I brought along some super ninjas to help." There was a clanking sound as pots hit counter, and then a beautiful young-looking woman appeared. "Tucson." She embraced the older man. "I am so glad you are safe." She then turned to Team 9. "Thank you for protecting my father. He can be a pain at times, but he is a good man." Guy gave his patented nice guy pose. "It was no problem. It would be most unyouthful to not help your youthful grandfather. His project to free his country from the unyouthful Gato is so full of youth. It moves me to manly tears of joy." Both civilians started to look a little disturbed. "Guy-sensei, I will emulate Tazuna-san's youth by helping him free his country in 1 week. And if I can't do that, I will do 100 laps around Wave on my hands." Naruto was not about to be outdone by Lee. "Well, I will help free Wave in 5 days, and if I can't do that, I will do 500 laps around Wave on my hands." Guy smiled proudly at his students. "Oh Lee, Naruto, your youth shines brightly." The three were hugging. "Guy-sensei." Tazuna and Tsunami were now really disturbed by the hugging men who were floating above the pool of water being fed by the waterfall as the sun caught the spray. "Enough." Tenten waded in and began to whack the men apart, ending the genjutsu of youth. "You are freaking out the clients. Stop it. Besides, we need to figure out what we are going to do against Gato." The group suddenly turned serious. "Right. Tazuna-san, do you have any maps of Wave?" The man blinked. "Yeah, I got some in my study." "Hold on a sec, let me get them." "Tsunami, please show the ninja the kitchen. We will use the table there to examine the maps." Tsunami nodded, and beckoned the ninja to follow her. The group entered the kitchen, and saw the remnants of a meal on it. Tsunami quickly cleared the table as Tazuna came down with the maps. He spread them over the table. "Right, what do you want to know? Where are Gato's bases? Since we just defeated Zabuza, it is likely he does not have any other ninja currently under his employment. We will strike in 2 days at the latest, and take out his men." Tazuna blinked. "Wow, that's bold." He pulled out a pencil. "All right, Gato has 3 main places where he likes to hang out." He drew a pencil over the docks. "This is where his ships are based. It is also around here that the majority of his men are quartered." He then drew a second circle. "This is the mansion of the former Dynamo, which he took over. It houses him and his elite guards." Tazuna paused. "There is one other important location. Gato has a private yacht, where he keeps a good portion of his money. It also functions as an escape route. It is possible that he will be on it." "Grandpa, why are these ninjas here? They are just going to die." All the ninjas turned to see a young boy with a bucket over his head. "Urari, there is no need to worry. These ninjas are super strong." The boy shook his head strongly. "No one is strong enough to beat Gato." He then turned and walked away. Tsunami sighed. "You will have to forgive my son. He hasn't been the same since his father died fighting Gato." Team 9 bowed their heads solemnly. "Right, here is what we will do to oust the unyouthful Gato. Naruto, you will create multiple clones to scout out the area. Try to find anything you can without being identified. Once we have a clear picture, we will launch an assault. Given what we know now, we will split into 2 groups. Naruto, Lee, Tenten, you will have the docks. Blow Gato's ships out of the water. I will deal with Gato and his elite bodyguards at his mansion. Understand? Hi Guy-sensei. Naruto stepped outside and created a dozen clones. You know what to do. The clones saluted, hanged into random people, and headed towards town. It was later in the evening. Naruto was running through the forest, calming his mind for the battle to come. By the end of the night, he would know the opposition. He came across a clearing and stopped when he saw a teenage girl picking flowers. Hello there. The teenager jumped, clearly startled. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to startle you there. The girl blinked. It is no problem, Shinobi-san. I am Haku. Naruto grinned. Don't call me Shinobi-san, it's way too formal. I am Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. He paused, then, can I help you pick those flowers? I recognize them, my teammate uses them to help with stiff muscles. Haku smiled. I would appreciate that. Great. Naruto bent down and began to pick with Haku. Are you strong, Naruto? I would like to think so, but I know I am not nearly strong enough to reach my goal. Why? I believe that true strength comes from protecting your precious people. Naruto blinked and adopted a thinking pose. Protecting your precious people. I like that. Yes, I like that a lot. From now on, I will protect my precious people. This will be my ninja way. He continued to pick the flowers. Say Haku, this precious person of yours, was he hurt by Gato? Haku blinked. Indirectly yes. Naruto smiled. Well, tell him not to worry because in 2 days, Team 9 will have ousted Gato. Believe it. Haku was suddenly worried. Her master would not have come close to recovery by then and they needed the money. What were they to? Wait, that could work. Really? You can take them out? Thanks. She shifted her basket. I have to go now. Alright, goodbye Haku-chan, and take care. She smiled. I will. Oh, and by the way, I'm a boy. Ah, it was such fun messing with minds. She could feel his surprised expression on her back. It was after supper, and the table had been cleared again with the maps on it. Naruto was holding a pencil. Right, Gato has control of the port. All the ships there have his emblem, so we don't have to worry about hitting friendly boats. Now it looks like he has somewhere around 1,000 men total, including non-combatants. Most of them are already asleep, so if we attack at night we should have surprise on our side. My clones could not get close to the mansion though. His guards were a lot more alert, and he had staff outside to clear out rats. None of my hanged animals could get in. On a final note, around 100 of his actual thugs roam the street constantly. We will need to have a way of getting rid of them. Good job Naruto-kun. Right, here is my youthful plan. I will assault the mansion. I should be capable of taking out any opposition there. Naruto, before the attack you will sneak in your clones and plant explosive notes on the boats and in the buildings. After they go off, you, the majority of your clones, Lee-kun, and Tenten-chan will attack the thugs. Siphon off around 100 of your own clones to sweep the village. Once you have completed your objectives, tie up any survivors and then sweep the town yourself. I will meet up with you. Finally, Tazuna, you and your family will be guarded here by Ningame, my summon. If Gato escapes on his yacht, Ningame can pursue and take him down. Naruto, your clones will infiltrate at 2000 hours tomorrow, and the attack will commence at 2030, understand? Hiya Guy-sensei. Good, now get some sleep. In a different area a young female was tending to her master. I ran into one of the Kahona Genin today and learned some important information. Oh, you didn't just kill him? Haku giggled. No, and it is a good thing I didn't. She then turned serious. They plan to have destroyed Gato in 2 days, at the latest. Zabuza focused on her. That would be problematic. Indeed. I have an idea though. We know that Gato keeps a large portion of his wealth stored on his yacht. When the attack begins, we can take the yacht and sail off with the money. We will be betraying our contractor, but the money should be worth it. Zabuza thought. On the one hand, he wanted payback for his defeat. However, it would take at least a week for him to recover, and then it would be over. If he took the money now though, they would be better off. The rebellion needed financing. We'll do it. It was a dark night, with clouds obscuring the moon. A drunk thug stumbled towards his room, only to stumble over a boy. Hey, what you doing here? The boy grinned, and a hissing sound was heard. Several explosions rocked the port. Damn it, they discovered some of my clones. Right, that will have to do. Let's get these fuckers. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. An army of Naruto clones appeared, and the majority headed for the docks. Lee and Tenten followed behind, and the battle for Wave began. Damn it, what the hell has happened? Gato was cursing a blue streak as he retreated back to his yacht. He had just gotten off from a lovely cruise when all hell had broken loose. His men were being taken out at the mansion, and in the distance it looked like his port was aflame. Gato was a businessman, he knew when to cut his losses. So he was retreating back to his yacht. He had a nice amount of cash, for him at least, on board, and could start anew. He quickly boarded the boat. Come on, get away from, he never saw the Sebon that killed. All clear, Master Zabuza. Haku dumped the body over onto the land. Excellent, let us depart to Wave. Mei-sama should be pleased with the amount. Despite the numerical superiority of the enemy, Team 9 had a rather easy job. Most of the mercenaries fought to the bitter end, but they were so poorly trained it was pathetic. Even the so-called elites were weak. The only problem was when the town itself began to panic. There had been several unfortunate civilian casualties during the attack, most nightwalkers who were trampled to death by other civilians. Gato was found dead on his private dock. His yacht had disappeared, but no one cared. Gato was dead. Tazuna, with a flood of volunteers, managed to complete the bridge in under a week. Team 9 stayed for the bridge creation celebration. In honor of those who lost their lives in the fight against Gato, it was called the Wave Memorial Bridge. Feeling like the heroes they were, Team 9 trekked home. After all that occurred in the past year, Hiruzen had learned to never underestimate Team 9's capacity to get into trouble. So when Guy announced that they had liberated Wave Country, he didn't even blink. Explain. Guy explained. He explained the failed ambush by the Demon Brothers. Speaking of which, here is the bounty money, to the fight with Zabuza and Tazuna's deception, to the fight at Wave, and the subsequent building of the bridge. The third pinched his nose in an effort to stop the oncoming headache. Right, I am declaring this mission a reclassified A-rank mission. You will be compensated accordingly. Team 9, dismissed. Today we won't be training. Instead, you have to make a decision. These words caught Team 9's interest immediately. Guy, saying no to training? What was happening? He pulled out 3 pieces of paper. In 1 week, the Chunin exams will begin here in Kahona. If you want to go as a team, take a slip. All 3 immediately grabbed a slip. Guy smiled. Excellent. You still have the day off, as well as the rest of the week. Do some light training, but don't overexert yourself. Good luck, and remember, I am proud of you. Guy went off towards the Hokage Tower. The team looked at each other. Chunin exams, huh? We are so going to own them. I agree, Naruto. We have enough youth to outshine everyone. Tenten nodded in agreement with her teammates' declarations. Well, I'm off to find my minions. See you. Naruto walked away from the group, and headed towards the theater. His minions, as he liked to refer the Konohamaru Corps as, were rather predictable. It was a Saturday morning, so they would be off to watch some movies. Being the Hokage's grandchild meant you had some money you could spend. It was pure luck that he ran into them in the middle of the street. Well, what have my minions been up to recently? The threesome whirled around. Boss. As one, the academy students crowded around him. You have today off? A whole week, in fact. I am going to participate in the Chunin exams. Their eyes behind the goggles they wore grew wide. Wow, you are so cool, boss. Naruto snickered. Thanks. And now, my minions, we will have a mission simulation. I am going to be the big bad missing nin, and you will have vital documents needed for Kahona. You need to run to the gate before I reach you. Do you understand your mission? Hi, boss. Naruto smiled. Good. Begin. The tri tore down the street, weaving through the crowd of pedestrians. Naruto chased after them, making sure they always were slightly ahead. Come Kahona nins, give me that scroll. Never. We will deliver it safely. They ran through the streets, laughing all the way. Several civilians cursed as they jumped out of the way. A man complained as his cabbages rolled away when he was forced to suddenly stop, which caused his cart to overturn. My cabbages, he wailed as they spilled over. Look, the entrance. We are going to make it. Indeed, the village entrance was in view. The goggle-wearing trio increased their speed. Oh no, I can't let them reach the entrance. I will be ruined. Konohamaru simply laughed, and closed his eyes as he imagined his victory. This proved to be a mistake, as he ran straight into the legs of an older boy in a catsuit, who had makeup on his face making interesting designs. Ow! The teenager grabbed Konohamaru, who immediately began to twist, trying to get free. You little shrimp, that hurt. Little boys like you should be more respectful to their betters. Why, I ought to. Kankuro, the blonde female next to him shouted, attempting to alert him to the incoming attack. He looked up from the struggling child to see a blonde boy in an orange spandex jumpsuit charging him. He was too slow at bringing up his arms, and several quick jabs rendered the arms numb and limp. Konohamaru tore out of his grasp, and fled behind Naruto. Why you little… Naruto grabbed Kankuro by his neck of his catsuit, lifting him up. To his right, the female had drawn her battle fan. Shut up. He slapped Kankuro. You do not threaten my minions, understand? It was an honest mistake, there was no need to get cruel about it. Hey, let go of Kankuro now. Naruto was about to comply, his point having been made, when a third person appeared in a swirl of sand. The boy had blood-red hair, a large gourd on his back, and the kanji love tattooed on his forehead in red ink. Kankuro, Tamari, shut up. The newcomer had an air of barely repressed bloodlust around him. Sorry Gaara. It's just… The boy stopped speaking when the redhead fixed a glare on him. You are a disgrace to our village. He then turned back to Naruto. I apologize for my siblings. It appears I did not keep them on a tight enough leash. Naruto blinked. Ah, it wasn't that bad. And thanks for intervening. Say, are you guys here for the exams? Yes. Naruto was a little unnerved at how simply Gaara said it. Good. I look forward to kicking your ass, makeup boy. It's war paint. Naruto turned to leave. Come on minions, let's go to the training grounds. I will show you lot how to break holds. The group started to depart. Wait. Naruto paused. What is your name? Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. The redhead with the black rings around his eyes continued to stare at the blonde boy. Uzumaki Naruto. I believe you are strong. I look forward to feeding your blood to mother. Naruto shuddered, and quickly ushered the group away. Well, this is anticlimactic. Team 9 looked at the hallway with a staircase and a sign that said, Test taken on 3rd floor, room 301. Naruto was rather disappointed. He had hoped that there would be some guards or some traps or something. Instead, there was a sign. A plain white sign. I have to admit, I also expected more. Lee was silent, ignoring his team's musings. Tenten fidgeted with a weapon scroll. I feel like this is somehow a trap or test. Naruto nodded. Well, let us continue. No way are they going to make us chicken out. He then took the lead, walking up the stairs. It took them a lot shorter than they thought to reach room 301. It was so short that it made the team nervous. Ahead was a large group of genin being held up by 2 chunin. The test is in this room. Have your papers and identifications out. Tenten did a scan of the hallway and noticed what was wrong. Look at the other rooms. She whispered to her teammates. Naruto and Lee looked, only to do a double take. 202, 203? Ah, a genjutsu. Let's head upwards. The group took off quietly, trying to make sure no one noticed their departure and questioned the validity of the sign above the door. After climbing another flight of stairs, the team was at the right level. Naruto saw a passingly familiar man with silver hair and an orange book. Hey, I know you, don't I? The man looked up with a lazy eye. Sort of. You kicked one of my genin's ass in a spar. Naruto blinked, and the memory came to him. Ah, you're the broody duck butt boys sensei. And the pink beauty. Naruto missed the glare Tenten was sending him. Kakashi could only sigh. Naruto, you are so oblivious. Still, you are lucky, she definitely has potential. And Guy Sensei's eternal rival. Lee looked at the man with some awe in his voice. This was the man who could challenge his sensei, and was barely losing. Which reminds me, I have 142 wins to 144 loses. If I can't beat you by enough times to claim a lead by the end of this exam, I will do finger push-ups for 3 hours straight. Bring it on, bushy brows. I won't lose to you, and if I do I will do community service for 1 week. The Junin eyes smiled at the pair. Well, I am glad to see you guys have a good rivalry going. Your teamwork must be exceptional. I'll be watching your progress with interest. The team took that as their cue to leave, and entered the room. There were over 100 people in the room already. Many had naturally segregated into groups of their own villages, and then segregated again into their own clichés. Naruto looked around, and noticed that the creepy redhead was there with his siblings. He grinned, and waved mockingly at the redhead. The catsuit boy behind him blanched. It was then that Naruto noticed the look of hunger in the redhead's eyes. "Mother wants your blood, and I will feed her." He couldn't actually hear it being said, but could read the lips. Naruto blinked, and then decided to mind-fuck the guy. He grinned, and gave the guy patented nice guy pose. Unfortunately, the gourd-carrying nin only blinked. Naruto's grin dropped, and he looked away. "What are you doing, Naruto?" He turned back to face a bewildered Tenten. "Just trying to annoy some assholes I ran into the other day." He shrugged. "It doesn't seem to be working." "Really? I thought you were a natural at that." Lee smiled. "Laugh it up." The doors opened, and several teams entered. One had a boy Naruto recognized. "I see you failures are trying to deny your fate, and have entered the exams." It was a boy with eyes that would make you think he was blind, if it weren't for the uncanny way he would use them to bore into your soul. Neji Teme. Behind the boy were his two teammates. One had a sneer on his face, while the girl looked bored. "You failures should just quit. You have only gotten this far due to the misguided charity of others. You are doomed to inferiority, and will never triumph, no matter how hard you work." Tenten scowled. "I can't believe I ever thought he was good eye candy." She shot a quick look at Naruto, and then turned back towards Neji. Naruto was about to retort, but Lee was suddenly in front of Neji. "I admit that I am not a genius like you." His voice was quiet, soft, yet carried the weight of mountains. Naruto realized that he was furious. "I admit that I never would have been a genin if it weren't for Guy-sensei's kindness. I admit it all, but know this, I may not be a natural genius, but I am a genius of hard work. And it has paid off. And when we meet on the battlefield in this exam, I will fan my flames of youth into my will of fire, and crush you." The remaining members of Team 9 looked at Lee proudly. The Nara girl with Neji had looked up with interest, and a bit of pity. The blonde boy with them smiled cruelly. "Humph." Team 12 moved to depart, but were stopped by Naruto. Lee spoke for all of us there. "When the time comes, we will beat your fate-loving ass into the ground." The team moved past Naruto. The door opened, and a horde of people came in, some who Naruto recognized from downstairs. Damn, someone must have removed the genjutsu downstairs, causing everyone to come up here. So much for weeding out the weak. There was a cry of, "Sasuke-kun," followed by the sound of two body hitting one another. Team 9 turned around. There was the duck ass, in all his glory, trying to fight off a ravaged fangirl with blonde hair, while the pink-haired beauty watched on with unrepressed annoyance. "Get off my Sasuke-kun." A fist impacted on the blonde, sending her off. Her teammates crowded around, while a third team moved to join them. "Well, if it isn't the former top dog, Sasuke. Me and Akamaru are going to ace this competition, and show you who is alpha here. Bring it on, Dobi." Naruto walked up to the group of rookies. "Besides, if you want to be top dog, you had to beat me. I already owned Duck Butt's ass. The last loyal Uchiha whirled around. That was before I awakened my Sharingan. I could crush you now." Naruto shrugged, clearly not believing the declaration. "Hey, could you lot keep it down? Everyone is nervous, and you are just putting them more on edge." The 12 genins turned towards the speaker. "Kabuto Nissan, nice to see you here. Hopefully you will actually pass this time, otherwise Haim will get mad and kick your ass." The silver-haired genin chuckled, pushing up his glasses. Behind him, his two teammates glowered. "He better not. I won't be held back because of you. Relax. Anyways, look around." The 12 did, and saw a lot of eyes on them. "You don't want to annoy people. It just makes them more likely to target you later." Naruto adopted a thinking pose. "Hey everybody, listen up. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I am part of Team 9. And we are going to kick all of your asses, believe it dat bayo." Now every single eye was on him while he did the classic, in Guy's mind, nice guy pose. "Naruto, your youthful challenge has inspired me to new heights. I will endeavor to be twice as youthful of you. You will do just fine, Lee. You are already flowering in your springtime of youth." Naruto, Lee, Naruto, Lee. Everyone looked at the hugging, crying males in fear. They were somehow floating on top of a snow-covered mountain, with clouds rolling below them. The sun was shining just above them. Sasuke activating his Sharingan, trying to dispel the illusion. Instead, he implanted it in his mind with its perfect memory, and discovered something truly terrifying. It's not an illusion. Neji and Hinata came to the same realization as well. 2 whaps on each boy's head made the illusion of youth dispel. Stop freaking out the competition. It's not fair to them, they haven't built up an immunity to it. The 2 boys fell apart and grinned. Sorry Tenten-chan. He then turned towards Kabuto. Say, don't you have some information on the exams and the people in them? I remember you mentioning something? Kabuto grinned. Ah, you mean my shinobi info cards? He pulled out a deck. Give me a name and I will give you some stats. Gaara from Suna and Neji Hyuga. Kabuto nodded, pulled out 2 cards, and channeled some chakra into them. I don't have much info on Gaara, since he is from Suna. He has, however, completed 5 B rank missions and 2 A rank. And get this, he did it without getting a scratch. Naruto looked over at the redhead. Damn, he actually is dangerous. Now, Neji, I have a lot more info on. He's a Hyuga, so he has the famous, all-seeing eye, and is proficient in the Hyuga style of gentle fist. It is rumored that he is almost a master in their style. It says here that he is considered a genius even among the Hyuga. He has completed 93 D rank missions and 10 C rank missions. Lee was staring at the stats of Neji's card. Sasuke stepped forward. What do you have on Naruto here? Kabuto blinked, and pulled out another card. Uzumaki Naruto, Team 9. He is the last person to graduate from the academy early. If he hadn't, he would be in your year. He is an expert in hobby style, and has access to independent solid clones. He has completed 124 D rank missions, 13 C rank missions, 1 B rank mission, and 1 A mission. He is also noted for having an unusual amount of chakra. Sasuke grunted and stepped backward. A boy with pineapple-shaped hair sighed. You are going to be another troublesome blonde, aren't you? Say, can you tell me which teams to hit, and which would be troublesome? Kabuto laughed. That's harder, but I can point you in the right direction. He pulled out another card and channeled his chakra. A large map appeared, with numbers and graphs pointing out of them. As you can see, Kahona sent the most teams. That is because it is a home exam, which generally has less casualties for the home country. It also means the teams tend to be weaker as a whole. So your best is one of ours, unfortunately. The ones to stay away from are the team from Otto. There was blinking all around. I don't recall a village called Otto. I'm not surprised, they are a new village that has just cropped up. Normally when a new village shows up, they try to flood the exam with genin, hoping some will get through. The fact that only one team was sent means they are a real ringer, and no one knows what they have. You probably want to stay away from them. The 12 nodded. There was a burst of smoke on the other side of the room. Naruto, panicking, created 4 clones, which no one else noticed with their attention focused on the front of the room. He calmed down as multiple Kahona Chunin, led by a Junin with cool facial scars, emerged from the smoke. Everybody quiet down. I am Morino Ibiki, protractor of the first exam. You will be assigned a seat and the rules will be explained. Naruto turned to his clones. You 3 henge into another team. You turn into a mouse and stick with me. The clones saluted and complied. The rules of the test are simple. I will write them down on the board, and will not answer any questions. The man with the scars held a piece of chalk in a leathered gloved hand. You will be given a written test with 10 questions. Each question you get wrong causes you to lose a point. If you lose 10 points, you and your team are out of the exam. If your team scores under 10 points combined, you are out of the exam. If you are caught cheating, you lose 2 points. This happens every time we catch you. If you lose all 10 points through being caught, you are out. The rules were written on the board. You have 1 hour, starting now. Naruto flipped over the sheet and started to panic. How am I going to answer these? Tenten was glad for her Seban practice. She quickly grasped the purpose of the test, and set up a series of mirrors hinged on her Seban. She angled them with strings, and flashed the answers to Lee, who caught them on his headband. She then looked at Naruto. Damn, is he freaking out. And I can't get a mirror to reflect towards him. Wait. It looks like he has an idea. Naruto had an idea, and it was right up his pranking alley. He quickly relayed instructions to his clone, and then dispelled it. A nondescript boy stood up suddenly. Hey everybody, guess what? I am a distraction. He then disappeared in a poof of smoke. A girl also stood up. Look, I am a distraction too. She also disappeared. A third guy stood up. In fact, we are the distraction team. See you chums later. The final clone dispelled in a poof of smoke. A man sitting next to a blonde boy with spiky hair turned back and looked at his test. He blinked, seeing that it wasn't his. Sneaky. I approve, he passes. Naruto simply marveled at the guy whose test he stole. Wow, this guy is so good, he managed to steal an actual copy of the answers. Naruto quickly placed his name on the paper, wondering why the person hadn't written his own. Also, what is the 10th question? 45 minutes passed. It is time for the 10th question. This question is special, as you have a choice. You can skip it if you want, however, if you do so, then your team forfeits. Then why the hell would we choose not to? Ibiki grinned. If you get it wrong, you fail and can never take the test again. And before you protest against this, know this. This is my test. These are my rules. Your leaders agreed to this. Now, what is your choice? I can't risk this. Number 35, you are out. Numbers 81 and 73 are gone as well. The three genin walked out of the room. This started a ripple effect, as more began to leave. Ibiki turned to Naruto. What about you, Blondie? You were having trouble with the questions earlier. Are you going to risk your career on this question? Naruto slammed a fist into his desk. I am no coward. I am part of Team 9. We do the impossible daily. So even if you somehow fail me, I will still become Hokage. You will not stand in front of my dream. Ibiki blinked, and noticed how his words had hardened the other genin. I see. Well, congratulations, you pass. Ibiki smiled. The 10th question was whether you would take the question. As Chunin, you will be given missions you know nothing of. So do you refuse them? Of course not. Cowards can't be Chunin. That was the purpose of the final question. And the other ones? They tested your ability to get information without being caught. There was a sudden crash as a window was smashed. A figure flew through it in a tight ball. Naruto once again reflexively created 3 clones. A woman appeared with banners displaying behind her. Matarshi Anko, the second protractor, was what they displayed. Listen up, maggots. You may have passed the first exam, but the second will be way harder. And dispel your clones, Blondie. Naruto blinked, and then did so. Anko, you are early. She turned and faced Ibiki. Ops? She then looked back at the stunned genin. Hey, what the hell? There are 24 teams here? You must be slipping, or getting old. Or both. Or they are really good. And at least I can remember what time I am supposed to arrive at. The crazy woman simply waved him off. Bah, I'll have them cut down to 8 when I am done. Now follow me. After a 5-minute walk, the genin were outside of a fenced forest. Listen up, weaklings. This here is training ground number 44, also known as the Forest of Death. It is my favorite training ground and the site of the second exam. The second exam is quite simple. She held up 2 scrolls. Each team gets 1 scroll and tries to nab another. After having both scrolls, you head for the tower in the center of the forest. Only the first 8 will move on, and you only have 7 days allowed in the forest. If you open up your scrolls, you are disqualified. If your team is short a member or 2, you are disqualified. If you don't make the time limit or the team limit, you are disqualified. If you leave the forest before the time is up, you are disqualified. Understand? Good. Papers then appeared in her hand. Now line up and sign these disclaimers. They state that if you die, I can't be held accountable. Fair enough, right? A pudgy boy raised his hand. A week? What are we supposed to eat? She chuckled. There are plenty of things to eat in the forest. Just be careful, some things are poisonous. Any other stupid questions? No one else asked anything. Right, signs these forms and get your scroll. Team 9 filled out the paperwork and grabbed an earth scroll. They then lined up at gate 9. All right, the second exam begins now. The gates opened and the team plunged into the forest of death. Team 9 hopped up into some of the ridiculously large trees. All right, we need a plan. And no, Lee, shouting challenges at the top of our lungs to have people come to us is not a plan. Lee looked rather disappointed. Naruto looked around, spotting the tower in the distance. Everybody has to go to the tower, right? Why don't we just head there and ambush someone on their way to the tower? They will be weaker from the fighting, and we will be able to take them. Tenten and Lee turned to Naruto. What? I think it is a good idea. It is a good idea. Right, let's get there. Team 9 quickly hopped off towards the tower. Right, I will have some clones keep watch and some more set traps along likely routes. Lee, do you have the explosive tags? Lee nodded and unsealed a bag. Here, these should do. They're tripwire, just attach a wire to this point. He pointed out a line in the tag, and channel some chakra. Once the line is disrupted, a 3-second countdown will begin. Naruto nodded. Got it. Naruto made his cross symbol, and over 24 blondes appeared. Several relived Lee of his tags, while the rest began to move out. They had been sitting for a while when Naruto's head shot up. One of my clones found another team, from a megacure, I think. I also think they had the same idea as us. They are in the trees over a likely route, looking downwards. I think we can get them from behind. Let's do this. Naruto took point, and the team once again leapt through the trees. They soon were above the genin team. Right, now we wait for some little genin to come into our trap. We take rounds watching and maintaining the genjutsu on the area. It was clear he was about to say more, but was interrupted by a boot landing on his head. The genin, with one of his teammates, landed on the ground with sickening crunches. Naruto and Lee barely flinched, and got off the broken and knocked out genin. Tenten had pinned the third member to the tree with her kunai, and had her clawed gauntlets on in front of the genin. Right, where is your scroll? The bladed gloves were right next to his arms. My pouch, right side. Tenten did not relax at all. Lee, the boy quickly tree-hopped to the same branch. Right side pouch. Lee reached in, and pulled out a heaven scroll. Perfect. She then backhanded the boy, and set him down the tree, also knocked out. Naruto hopped upwards. Well, that was easy. Team 9 entered the building. A banner was waiting for them. If you possess both heaven and earth, open your scrolls. The 3 genin blinked. Naruto and Lee grabbed the scrolls they carried, and opened them. Look out, they are summoning seals. Lee cried. The 2 teens threw the scrolls away, and there were 2 puffs of smoke. Iruka-sensei. Naruto tackled the scarred Chunin who emerged from part of the smoke. Hey Naruto-kun. Then there was a light whop as Iruka bonked him on the head. You baka, what have you been teaching your minions? They have been driving me insane recently. Naruto grinned. Excellent. I have trained them well. Ouch. Hey, stop bonking me. Stop ruining my life. On the other side of the room, 2 more men were embracing. Oh Lee, your flames of youth had helped your team finish first. I am so proud of you. Guy-sensei. Lee, Guy-sensei. Tenten felt like the third wheel as the 2 groups embraced. Though why did Lee and Guy have to create that beach? But she didn't mind that much. Though why couldn't Naruto hug her like that? Wait a minute. Hug her like that? Oh Kami, she was falling for him. Though he was kind of cute with those whisker marks, yeah, she had it somewhat bad. Still, they were young, and had time. Tenten decided to wait on her feelings, see if they were really. That would suck if it turned out kind of like Neji, though he would never be that cruel. I wonder how the other teams are doing. Team 8 was standing in a clearing, the 3 members huddled together like they were planning something. I see a T team approaching. They're H-headed R right for us. B behind you, Shino, and A above. Hinata stuttered out. The team broke apart a few seconds after the other Kahona genin arrived. Well, look what we have here. 3 rookies standing around without a clue about what they should do. Kiba grinned. That is what you think. Suddenly, a group of gigantic leeches dropped down upon the older genin, incapacitating them. It would be illogical to have stood around without coming up with a plan. Team 8 relieved them of their scroll. We have the necessary scrolls now. Let us proceed. The team had been heading for the tower for several minutes when they came upon a standoff between 2 teams. Team 8 took cover behind some bushes. Then Suna scum. The larger man in front grabbed an umbrella off his back, and launched it into the air. Bolts of Sebon rained out, and honed in on the redhead leading the Suna team. They were all halted by a cocoon of sand, which appeared around the redhead without any visible effort on his part. Is that it? The Omegacure shinobi looked startled and worried. I guess it is my turn. The sand flew out, wrapping around the lead genin. You are from Omegacure, right? The redhead brought the umbrella to him. Then I will make it rain blood for mother. He squeezed with one hand, and brought up the umbrella with the other. The umbrella shielded him from the blood that squirted out of the former human. Ha, this is why you don't mess with Suna. It was the boy with the catsuit. Gaara is the strongest genin ever. Wait, don't kill us. Look, here is our scroll. We are good, right? No. The sand wrapped around the two remaining genin. Bye-bye now. The blonde with 4 ponytails waved mockingly at the doomed genin. They erupted into fountains of blood. Well, that's all we need. Let's go to the tower. Mother hasn't had enough blood. Both siblings gulped at this. Please Gaara, if we go down, then you can't feed mother at all. He held out his hand towards the bush that Team 8 was hiding behind, causing them to flinch. Sand flew into his hand, forming a cork. Fine. The team left. Team 8 remained hidden behind the bush. Let's wait a little, and then get to the tower. The team agreed. Gaara smiled as he came upon 3 broken, but still alive, Omega-Cure ninjas near the tower. Yes, mother would have more blood indeed. His sand shot out, just as one of the genin awoke, and began to scream. He smiled, and squeezed. Blood erupted from the mounds of sand. His smile got wider. Team 7 had been bounding along when a gust of wind tore through the area. Sai was separated from the team, as Sakura and Sasuke recovered. Where did the creep go? Coo. You should be more worried about yourself. Prey should not relax in front of a predator. The two turned to see a woman watching them, with a scroll wrapped by her tongue. She swallowed. Let us fight to the death for our scrolls. If Sai could feel emotions, he would have been annoyed. The wind was necessary to separate him from his team, but the snake was unnecessary. His ink creations had eaten the snake from the inside out though, weakening it enough for him to stab his Tonto through its head. Now he needed to find his team. Orochimaru stood over the beaten genin. The pink-haired one was pathetically weak but Sasuke-kun was deliciously strong. His eyes were even better than Itachi's. Yes, he would make a good host. A thump alerted him to Sai's arrival. My master wants to know if the deal will continue as the two of you bargained. Cuckoo, why yes it will. Sasuke will be mine, and Sensei will die during the attack. Oh, and by the way, I may have instructed my team to attack Sasuke at dawn tomorrow. I do have to make sure Sasuke can truly understand my gift. Sai simply nodded and began preparing his defenses. Kabuto stood over the remains of a Kahona team. The group had been smashed to pieces with his new taijutsu, giving him very pleasing results with this experiment. Thank you for your teachings, Tsunade-sensei. He collected the scroll, only to pause as his master appeared. Hello Kabuto-kun. There has been a change in the plan. Sai, a lovely root agent, has generously decided to help his teammate. You should head for the tower. Oh, and Kabuto, do try this time. It wouldn't do for a student of Tsunade to not make it to the 3rd exam, right? Kabuto simply smiled, and pushed his glasses up. Team 12 stood over their defeated opponents. You were from a mediocre village. You were doomed to mediocrity from the start. You should not have fought fate. The team left the defeated group. Well, would you look at that? There is just one guy defending our target. And boy, does he look sleepy. What are we waiting for Dosu? Let's get the idiot and fulfill our lord's wish. Indeed, but we must proceed with caution. It is possible the area has been trapped. Kin, Zaku, prepare to fight. The 3 Otogakure nins jumped down. Sai looked up impassively. Surrender the Uchiha, or die. Sai smiled his fake smile. I am afraid if I surrendered, my sensei would be annoyed with me. And the books all say that is a bad thing. The shinobi grinned. Good, then die. He pointed his arms at the genin, and fired compressed air out at the genin. Sai dived out of the way. He then pulled out a notebook and pen, and began to draw. Several ink snakes shot out towards the genin team. You will have to better than that. The spiky boy swung his gauntlet arm. The snakes dissolved. My melody arm can disrupt chakra and your sense of hearing. He stepped forward, only to stop as a snapping sound was heard. Kunai were launched out of several boxes towards the group, who ducked down. Kin suddenly noticed a rapidly approaching shadow. Dosu, above. He looked up, and raised his gauntlet, shattering the log. You are pissing me off. Die. Zaku raised his arms again, only for them to be seized by an awoken Sasuke, who was covered in unique marks. You are not worthy of fighting me. Sasuke broke his arms, and then smashed Kin to the ground. She grabbed for her Sebon pouch, only for Sasuke to stomp on her hand. She screamed, and scrambled backwards. Dosu charged forward with his melody arm, trying to disrupt Sasuke. The boy simply punched Dosu away. He then turned to Kin. Wait, we surrender. We offer our scroll in exchange for safe passage. Sasuke smirked. Fine, you aren't worthy of dying by my hand. Only he is. Dosu pulled out his scroll and rolled it to the group. Kin, Zaku, we are leaving. The group slunk away. The marks on Sasuke receded. Sasuke-kun, you protected me. He was tackled by his rabid fangirl from behind. He quickly shook her off. Let's get to the tower. Well, it was troublesome capturing you, so could you please just surrender your scroll? Shikamaru looked at the Sunan they had captured in his shadow. In truth, it had been rather easy, the group had walked right into it. Like hell will we surrender to a team with a lazy ninja and a fat ass. The sky suddenly darkened. What did you call me? Choji had the look of a murder in his eyes. You heard me. Fat, oh my Kami. Choji had expanded into a giant ball. I am not fat, I am pleasingly plump. Pudgy's rule. He rolled forward, squishing the offending nin. Alright, our scroll is in his bag. Please, don't hurt us. Shikamaru smiled, and then ran forward. The genin, copying his movements, also ran forward and knocked themselves out on the trees in front of them. It would have been troublesome to have you lot follow us. Ino, can you not be such a troublesome blonde and pick up the scroll? Said troublesome blonde scowled and picked up the scroll. It is the one we need. The team headed for the tower. Look at those trash, sleeping like that. They didn't even set some traps. The auto team snuck up on the sleeping genin. Knives flashed, and 3 died in their sleep. Look, they had 2, heaven, scrolls. How the hell did these guys win one? It doesn't matter. Let us find another team to kill. As it turned out, it wasn't need. The remains of a team, coupled with what looked like bear tracks, were found. And among the remains was an earth scroll. Perfect. Karen paused to catch her breath. Her team was dead, but fortunately someone had left some traps that had killed the bear attacking her. Besides, it was time to head for Otto. She had done what she had needed to do in Kusagakure. She headed for the tower. The 7 days had passed with little fuss, save the protractor of the second exam going after an infiltrator of the exam called Orochimaru, and getting the crap kicked out of her. Anko looked over the 8 teams with the other instructors and the Hokage. From Kahona, teams 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 13 had passed. Team Baki and Team Dosu from Suna and Otto had also passed. Congratulations for passing the second exam. You will all be participating in the final exam. Lord Hokage will explain further. She stepped back wincing from the residual pain from her curse mark. Her short confrontation with her former sensei had not gone well at all. Before I begin, I would like to inform you on the purpose of the Chunin exams. You have been told that they are created to promote worthy genin to Chunin. That is only part of the truth. The truth is that the exams are a substitute to war. You fight for your country in a mock war. The country that does the best gets the most contracts. This leads to more money and a stronger village. Make no mistake, it is not just your team who is putting it on the line. It is your entire country too. If you embarrass yourself, you embarrass your country. Still, this is far better than the alternative. So fight hard, fight well, and fight for your country. The referee for the final exam will explain from here. The old man stepped back and lit his pipe. A sickly-looking Junin stepped forward. Cough cough. The rules are simple. This is a team-based tournament. Cough cough. Each team is in a bracket, and fights until the entire enemy team is out. Cough cough. You are eliminated upon your loss. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.